live. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Nerdy Up North podcast. It's a nerdy podcast, and it's hosted by Northern Nerds. I am one of your hosts, Sam.
And my mic stopped working again. So yeah.
Oh,
does it really?
No. And that's the other host, Paul.
It's back on now. Can you hear us, guys? Yes.
Hey.
I am the other host, Paul, and hopefully my microphone is working because it fucking hates me today. I know we're not supposed to swear so early. So many technical issues, so many problems. Yes. Just going to check to make sure. Yes, it's back on now. Yes. Hi, nerds. Two podcast. Well, two things in one day. We are spoiling you, I guess.
I think we are.
Yes, it's working. Hopefully, it's working. So
are you saying it's working, but it's very quiet?
Yes. For some reason,
out for us.
Yeah. But other people are saying they can hear you, Paul. So
yeah,
let's just go with it.
Just delay it.
Just go with the flow. I'm going to cry. But yes, we are back with a vengeance, and we are joined this evening by the majestic, the Lord himself, that is Jake. And I
thought you were going to say Lee there.
No. Lee's getting left to last. We have the beautiful Lauren, like our comic book guru herself. As soon as we mention anything to do with comic book or characters, the abuse I get in the messages saying, if you don't have me on, I will find you, I will kill you. I'm a little scared.
I'll tell you where he lives, it's okay.
But yes, and we've got a very special guest that Sammy let slip earlier. We're gonna be a big reveal. But yes, the king himself, the very special king, his first appearance fully on the podcast. I know he did a little cameo on Sammy's little side quest that she did, but now, after he made a comment, and I don't even think he realizes I noticed his comment in the Discord, because he is king of the Discord as well, for all these Discord people that
Discord perverts.
Yes, the Discord perverts. He made a comment. What was it? He said, "I really want to come on the podcast, but I don't think I'm good enough. I think other people are better than me." And Lee, I'm not having that. Because everyone gets the chance. So if you suck, you'll not come back on, but at least you'll get your chance.
Fair enough.
But Sammy said nice things about you when you were on, so I'm expecting great things from the king.
I said lovely things about him being on, and then I did say he is the reason I lost my title of Sam number one.
Mm-hmm.
It's all his fault, and he's very hard bloody questions. I felt like you when you did the Game of Thrones quiz.
And I don't think King Lee knows this. Well, he should, because he is an avid listener to the podcast. When it is your first appearance, you've got to tell us a little bit about yourself. So tell us a little bit about your nerd credentials there, Lee.
Oh, I forgot about that.
I know you fucking did.
Well, yeah, I'm Lee. I've been in the group for over a year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on the comic book podcast, but I haven't really been into comic books for that long.
Mm-hmm.
There was only a small newsagents near myself, which didn't sell many comics, or a wide selection of comics. So I didn't really get into that side of things until maybe it was the past 5 or 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, my nerd credentials are just gaming. I think I've just gamed since I was about 3 or 4 years old.
And you have started a little Twitch thing going now, haven't you? That you're starting getting a bit of popular. And the design work on it, I'll give you cues. The design is actually really good. So that wasn't meant to sound as patronising as it came across.
Well, I mean,
well done, Lee.
After watching you guys on Twitch, I thought I have to try and step it up a little bit, and just took inspiration from Nerdy Up North.
Yeah. Steal our
Look
ideas.
at him, man. See, he's lovely.
This
is why he's king.
Lee's our illustrious mod as well on Twitch. He's keeping an eye on everything you say.
I think he has elevated himself to mod in the YouTube as well. He has a spanner, guys. He has a spanner.
Yeah.
Yes, Michael's not the only one. And speaking of, hello to everyone in the chat. There's a few people who's just joined us. Hi, everyone.
Hi, nerds. Hi, Adam.
Hi.
I just want to say as well, because I know like Adam's in the chat as well. His dad became very ill yesterday, and he's in hospital. So good. We've got putting all the wishes in the world, and fingers crossed everything's okay with your dad, Adam, as well.
Yeah.
Get well soon,
Thinking of you,
Tony.
Adam.
We love you.
But yes. And Goodwill's
Oh my
keep telling us me
goodness.
sounds either too high, too low. What do you want
No,
from me,
he
Goodwill?
says it's perfect.
What do you want from me, Goodwill? God damn it.
Don't move. Don't do anything.
I don't think you should ask Michael that question. I don't think you'd like the answer.
So before we get started, I've got a bit of a confession as well.
Oh God.
So it's going to go deep and dark, and as you know, I do watch the Goonies too much, and like I say, I've got a bit of an obsession with the Goonies.
You watch it on your
Just
phone in
bit.
the cinema today. I think,
Yeah.
as well.
I did watch
I
it
saw
again.
it.
I did watch it again, and I noticed something. I noticed there's more Goonies that watch us, or that's part of the group, that are in the
Wow.
fucking Goonies. So I'm going to put a
Wow.
picture up now for everyone to watch. These are the new members of the Goonies, and I hope you all appreciate how beautiful these guys look.
I'm going to react like I can see.
It's-
Yeah.
It's not
Can
me.
actually.
It's not my best Photoshop work, but it did make us laugh a lot. So welcome to the Goonies, Captain Goodwill and Jake. You're looking like a
Yay.
fitting couple for
Oh
the
my
Goonies.
god.
Jedi's actually.
But yes, so,
Goonies always say die.
so yes,
Jake, Andy.
yes, Jake's Andy, yes, and Goodwill. I've forgotten the name now.
Goodwill's earrings. Like that butcher.
God, the chat's going crazy.
Yes, I'm never going to get bored of that. I hope you know. So it's going to continue.
You're
as
never going to stop watching it.
Never going to stop watching Goonies, and everyone will be Goonied at some point. I might even do someone twice, so especially if Sam's mum's involved, but that's another story. But yes,
I'm not sending you any pictures of my holiday.
You're getting blocked.
but yes. So Sammy, after a second appearance on the BBC, did you know? When's
Oh yes.
When's the interview going to be out? Did she tell you?
I don't know.
All right.
I generally don't know at this stage. Yes, me and Michael did an interview for BBC on Friday about the new side projects that we're doing, and it was very fun. And Michael absolutely held his own for both of us, so very much appreciate that.
Very good. But yes, if you want to do your big disclaimer,
yes.
so that was on the BBC.
Round 2. You've done it once already.
I have. So, everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you'd like to discuss anything from today's podcast, please come and join us in the Facebook group or the comment section, and we can have an open discussion. What we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong. We can all agree to disagree in fandom. So let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behaviour out of nerdism.
Let's just keep the toxic behaviour out of life.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's all agree on that one.
Yes.
If we don't agree on each other's lists, we can agree on that.
Yes. So, this one, actually, I was quite looking forward to this because with us being a comic book nerd and knowing the people, like, say, that I could get on, like, especially Lauren and Jake, and, like, say, King Lee as well now, I thought it would be a really interesting topic to see people's opinions, people's different point of views as well on characters, because there's story arcs and there's actually comics, but characters change so much throughout comic or even time as well, and the evolution. So the character that you might like might be different to someone else's because, as you said, it's a different time zone. So I always thought that would be an interesting conversation. So that's where the idea of top 5 comic book characters, and I wanted to, like, say comic book characters as well. I didn't want to say heroes or villains. So again, your favorite could be the Mr. Meanie, the Mr. Bad Guy, which would be again an interesting topic. So with us going ahead, I thought I'd be nice and let our resident comic book guru start us off with number 1 pick. So I'll let Lauren go first.
Okay. So my top 5, it has. I've been a fan of the X-Men. I started the 90s cartoon back in 1992, 1993.
Oh, the cartoon known as Tits and Ass, yes.
Yes, Tits and Ass. So I've loved X-Men almost as long as I loved Star Wars. It's always been part of my life. And so, like, my top 5 has evolved, but my number 1 has been pretty consistent since I was 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He is the heart of the X-Men. He opened up Giant Size X-Men #1, being the very first character to appear in it, and he is the incredible Nightcrawler. Kurt Wagner.
Kurt Wagner.
Oh,
Yes.
I have
interesting.
loved him since I was a teenager. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because he was one of the first X-Men, like the first X-Men, the first good guy they really introduced, who looked so different.
Mm-hmm.
But he was okay. So there's been times in the comics where he's kind of broody and a bit, oh no, I am the knight kind of thing. But for the most part, he is this happy, swashbuckly, Errol Flynn watching, Star Wars loving pirate dude who
he probably
doesn't
is
give a shit.
Yeah, he's probably the nerdiest X-Men as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's I don't know if anybody's aware, but back in the 80s, they started to reprint from Giant Size 1 in these editions called Classic X-Men. They would abridge the issue and then back it up with a completely new couple pages story that was just like just random stuff. Like there was one where Colossus was just painting in Little Odessa in New York City. Like it was just daily life, slice of life, but for the X-Men. And one of them,
that kind of stuff, though.
fantastic. It was the main reason I bought those Classic X-Men issues, because it was just for those bits. And there was one part where Kurt and Logan, they're best buds. Anybody who's done the comics knows that Nightcrawler and Wolverine are just best buds because they just really contrast each other so well.
Mm-hmm.
They were just in the bar, and Wolverine dares Nightcrawler to walk down the main street of Salem without his imaging juicer on, and he does, and he kind of gets like a mixture of like attention, good and bad. And there's this point where he passes these little boys outside the movie theater, and they're, there's a Star Wars poster up, and it's like, oh, my favorite's the Wookiee, and it's just like, yes. It's just, I don't know, he's just cool. He's just really cool. And it's just like, he can use the sword of his tail. And
he always, he's in such an interesting character as well, because he's the one that can't hide the way he looks. So I know that they're doing certain things like inhibitors and stuff, but he was the most mutant of the mutants, if that makes sense. He could never hide. I always found it interesting as well that they made his power followed up with Barth, so it sounded like he was farting every time he was teleporting into a different thing. So that always made us laugh as a kid. But there's something sad about Nightcrawler as well, because of his past, and I know it's actually it's like having missed. Depends which version you read, having Mystique as his mother, and all them different elements as well, and not really known family, and not really being accepted by family until he gets accepted by the X-Men and as such. It's the one character that you don't want to see done dirty, and I think when you look at the movie transition as well, it was done so well, like in X-Men 2, wasn't it? X-Men 2, wasn't it? Yeah.
I've got very mixed feelings on the movie versions of Nightcrawler. I hated the scars thing.
Right. Okay.
I thought that just went too far.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was they were saying he'd self-tattooed, weren't they?
Yeah, he basically scarred himself. It's just a scar for every sin kind of thing. And he doesn't need to be that. He doesn't need to mess himself up with scars to prove his penance or his melancholy, because he can do that anyway.
Yeah.
His backstory is completely horrific. It's awful. But he's often so happy and friendly and welcoming and loving to everybody that he defies his upbringing. And again, it's kind of like the found family aspect as well. I think one of the main reasons people like X-Men, especially as teenagers, is the found family, the being, oh, I'm so different, but I've got all these people who I'm different and weird with. It's very welcoming and friendly, and very queer friendly as well.
Definitely. It was probably the comic book that all goths loved. That was probably the best way I could describe it.
You say that, but I have never had, and it's so bizarre to us, I've never had a connection to the X-Men, and I should. I really should, but I just don't. My husband does massively and probably would kill me for not even having one on the list. But I've never drawn that connection to them. I was more the Avengers than I was the X-Men, and it's because of
because you love the Boy Scouts.
That's it. No, when at the time when I started reading comics, I was looking for the strength, not the intelligence or the connections kind
They've
of
got
thing.
they're a lot like vulnerable, aren't they? The X-Men, like to
I
like the
wasn't
government and stuff like that.
And I definitely found that as a strength, if that makes sense. Like there was a great, it's a really random story that I really like, but there was a storyline called Operation Zero Tolerance where they basically got raided by the government. Half the X-Men got arrested, half of them got taken away, and then the mansion got stripped out. So for a while after that, it was just a team of like Z-listers. It was like Marrow, Maggot, Cecilia Rees, with like Beast trying to hold it all together, and Wolverine kind of coming in and out. But they still made it work. Like there was a really good issue. There was a really, really good issue where Beast was trying to make them all do like. Sorry, I'm on a mad tangent. This is what happens when you make me talk X-Men. He made them all do like New Year's resolutions, and they're like, "Oh, forget this. I'm not going to do this." But by the end of the issue, Beast kind of bantered by where he put the little list up, and everybody filled one out, and it's just like, oh,
yeah, like X-Men do have those like cute moments, which I definitely appreciate. And just like going back to what you were saying about like Kurt's like innocence and stuff, like he's definitely the time when the show, like, you know, people will be scared of him and be awful to him just based on looks, but he tries not to let it get him down. Like obviously it does, like, you know, the sad storylines, but also like he has a lot of like hope, or he's like, that's just their own problem, really. It's nothing to do with me.
It's
that's
like
not
when
a me problem.
In the first issues where Shadowcat was introduced, back when she was still called was she called Ariel first or Sprite first? Anyway, when Kitty was first introduced, she was terrified of him, but he was always so nice to her and so kind to her. Like even though, get away from me. He was like really patient and just waited for her to like come round.
Very, very nice spirited. So good starting point there. So good.
Strong start.
So King Lee, because I know you've been quiet there, so you take it all in.
I've never actually read any X-Men, so
don't worry.
My experience with the X-Men is just the films and the cartoon. Like literally, the whole time I've been listening, in the background it's been going.
Hey, but guys, don't sleep on X-Men Evolution, which was a different cartoon. Whether we're a bit younger, but that was awesome. A lot of Nightcrawler in that as well.
Yeah, they shook up some of the origins, but not in a bad way.
They've done Rogue really well in that version as well. Yeah. But yes, so Lee, take it away for your first pick.
Is this do we start from 5 and work all the way down?
It's your choice.
Entirely up to you. How you want to present it.
I'll start from the end. So my number 5 pick. I'll be surprised if this isn't in anyone's or related to anyone's top ones. Venom.
No.
Okay. No.
It's not, but definitely
someone's going to have some Spider-Man in there.
No Spider-Man related in me.
That's a different question, but
Venom definitely I had like a rotating top, like a last spot, and Venom definitely crossed my mind at some point, along with Juggernaut for some reason.
Oh, that's amazing.
I like it.
I'm Juggernaut, bitch. But yeah, anyway.
Not that one.
I'm bringing it back.
Yeah, Venom.
Why Venom?
But yeah, well, Spider-Man is probably my favorite superhero in like Marvel or DC or anything like that. And I usually judge superheroes on how good their villains are. And Spider-Man has the best villains.
Disagree.
I know you might think Batman. Batman's got amazing villains as well, but Spider-Man's got so many, like Dr. Octopus, Scorpion, Magneto, not Magneto.
It did have Magneto a few times, so don't worry, you're not wrong.
Goldfish Head, Mysterio. Yes, that's
Mysterio.
It. And he always deals with him quite simply. But Venom is just an absolute monster. and he hasn't got any defense against Venom. He can't have these spider sense working against Venom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so cool as well. It's like he's his alter ego, but evil, and just Venom absolutely rules.
Yeah, is Venom's aesthetics are very much like, yeah, that's perfect. Like no notes.
It was
only Eddie Brock Venom as well though. I know Venom goes on to being in, like, he takes over Scorpion, Doc Ock. Actually, the symbiote takes over pretty much everyone.
Yeah, Flash Thompson's anti-Venom, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But the Eddie Brock version, yeah.
No, but Venom, it was Todd McFarlane, wasn't it? Or that brought the Spider-Man run that introduced Venom to us. It was
I think so.
Secret Wars.
Then it was Todd McFarlane.
No, Secret Wars was the black suit Spider-Man. But then it was
Amazing Spider-Man 300
was the first full appearance, but it was 287 when it was hinted. 297.
Oh my God,
sorry.
you fucking nerds.
298, then 299. You saw Venom's hand. Then the first full feature of Venom was 300.
Nice.
That was some fucking knowledge.
I own the comics. That's the thing. I own the comics. I loved the McFarlane run of like the Spider-Man and Venom. It was the most brutal and violent that Spider-Man has been, in my opinion. Just for how vicious. Like, I know people say Carnage, but like say the Maximum Carnage run was decent.
Carnage is a loser.
But like just the pure hatred, because if you think about like Eddie Brock blames everything on Spider-Man. He blames losing his fiance, blames losing his job, because Spider-Man kind of, when he had the black suit, was a bit of a dick, as we found out in Spider-Man 3 when he goes all emo. But in the comics,
was that actually in the comics though?
Not the emo Spider-Man, but he become a bit of an attitude, and he basically, because Eddie Brock's taking fake photographs of Spider-Man, and instead of just like disputing it, he embarrasses Eddie. Peter Parker probably embarrasses him because he's like hasn't got his conscience as much. He's like the Venom, the black suit is kind of eating away at himself. Where he's becoming a bit of a bad guy, so he's going too far with the things, and he basically embarrasses Eddie Brock. And then the scene in the movie is basically scene for scene what happens with Spider-Man in the bell tower, where Eddie's praying basically not for his for help, for salvation. He's praying for Peter Parker and Spider-Man to be killed,
like revenge.
Revenge. That's what he wanted. And then as the suit drips off Spider-Man, it lands on Eddie and infects Eddie, and the hatred of Spider-Man with Spider-Man rejecting the black suit, and that's just amplified so much in Venom. And like say that run, like if you go back and read it now, is like some of the most brutal Spider-Man you will actually read like to date.
What amazing! Did you enjoy the Tom Hardy version of Venom, Lee?
I like Venom, but I don't like Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock. He doesn't seem angry enough. Like the comic book Eddie Brock, he like I said, like Paul said, he's been fired from his job for like wrong information for all this stuff. I'm sure he's also dying of cancer as well, or he's found out he's got cancer because he starts like going to the gym and trying to bulk up a bit to get fit.
I think in some versions, I don't know if it was. I can't remember now. My brain's not working that well.
And he's just at the lowest point in his life, which all adds to Venom and how evil he is when he's on Eddie. But the Tom Hardy versions, it's like he's just this like guy who's had a bit of a run of bad luck, and it's
just hard luck, not like
dark.
It's like, and also it's just missing Spider-Man. Like, I'm sorry, but like it doesn't make any sense, because like the Venom suit looks like a Spider-Man suit because he's been attached to Spider-Man for so long. Like he wouldn't be web swinging around if he hadn't merged with Spider-Man. Like none of it makes sense. And I know they sort of changed him with like tentacles a bit later on, but like I'm a fan of like that original Venom, like that web swings and stuff like that.
I'm interested in the Venom storyline. I don't know if it's not recent, but like the one where there was a Krull, the king of all like symbiotes.
King of the symbiotes.
King of the symbiotes. When you find out like where Venom's backstory and like, because that's one thing they never like harked on or give you much information on where the symbiote did come from or where like where the origins were. All you knew was came from space. But then, like say that with anything with to do with Marvel and the kind of beat the dead horse, like as you said, you've had a Venom Doc Ock, you've had Venom Scorpion, you've had Venom. You probably have Venom Dog or Venom Cat now and stuff like that. It's just got to the point where. Sorry, Dawn.
I was gonna say there was a story like mini event where they had just like Venomized, like there was loads of different.
I have a lot of Funkos that are Venomized.
Yeah,
there was a symbiote bomb. Someone dropped a symbiote bomb in the city, and it affected like Iron Man and Doc Ock and like all these people.
They often fall back on this on video games as well when they're like, "Oh, we need like fodder enemies." I guess the symbiotes got loose in the city. Right. But like, is the name? I think in the original comics, like Eddie Brock's like, what can I call myself? Everyone says I'm like a crappy tabloid writer, the venom on the pages and stuff like that. And like, but I don't know if they've retconned it now to be like, no, my name is Venom and I am from the planet Symbiote or whatever. And this is my friend Carnage. We don't get along. I can't remember.
They changed it so many times, but the original.
They'd have to really, wouldn't they? Yeah.
Like say, if you go back to the original. Actually, one of my favorite story runs when it comes to Spider-Man, and again, I'm not going to shit on Spider-Man because I love the Amazing Spider-Man early runs, but that comic is hard to read now due to how shit the writing is. But yeah,
there's a lot of writing. It's got like too much writing.
Yes. But yes, so very good pick there, Lee. So we'll go with Sammy. I don't want to leave it till last because she always complains that she gets missed out. We'll go with Sammy next.
On all people just have the same list as us. Jake.
Not to.
I am gonna get this one out the way with. I love this character in comic book form and in movie form. I'll die on a hill for him, but I will die on the hill for the comic book run that made me fall in love with them. Now that's how I've chosen my characters tonight. I've had to go back and think of everything that I've read to where I felt something. And that's what I'm basing everything on, is just my pure emotion of how I felt after I felt reading either just an issue or a full-on series. My first pick is Captain America.
Good old Cap. When you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Of course it would. Yes, that's why I got him out first. You can't argue with it. But it was Ed Brubaker's Winter Soldier that made me completely fall in love with this character. I'm not going to lie, that transcended over into the movies. I have loved every part of Captain America's journey throughout the MCU. And I try to dip in as much as I can with how overwhelming Marvel can be over the years afterwards, to try and keep on top of things. I got the run of leading into Sam Wilson's Captain America, and that it was like kind of the end of Cap leading into this new Captain America. And I remember going to pick up that first issue of, I've still got it somewhere, of Sam Wilson becoming Captain America, and I bawled at the front cover just because I'd been with it, like leading up to it. But it is Steve Rogers' Captain America that has my heart completely.
I'll just break your heart as well just by saying two words: Hail Hydra.
I remember that issue.
Was a trick.
Is it controversial to say I actually kind of liked?
Me too. I wanted it to be. I wanted it to continue. I wanted it to be true. I wanted him to have switched sides just to get a different glimpse of him. I remember the shitstorm.
It was
that
horrific.
came. It was so bad.
People were so horrific, but
it's a ballsy move. It's a very ballsy move.
But if you read it, it was actually quite well done. It was quite well crafted.
Yeah.
The storyline, and I'm going to be a tiny bit controversial. People, probably because of the MCU, people confuse Hydra with Nazis.
Yeah.
And they're very quite separate in the comics.
Yeah.
Like they've got very, very muddy in the movies, so I completely understand why people
Well, like say
get confused.
because the
But-
Hydra was never like it was part of the Nazis, but it was a separate thing run by the Red Skull. So it was
Yeah.
never the Nazi party. That was like
Yeah.
a means to the end for Hydra to be formed, and then Hydra
Yeah, it was
continued.
basically their cash cow, and
Yeah.
so I completely see why. But yeah, it was never about. I don't know, it's really good. And there was like the story where it was like the false flashbacks to like the false childhood that Steve had.
Yeah.
They were really, whereas they had the weird Hydra Hogwarts. The weird Hydra Hogwarts, and oh god, Zemo as his weird little Draco Malfoy.
I mean,
That's hilarious.
It's been a day since I've read Winter Soldier, and I have tried to find the Ed Brubaker's omnibus of the Winter Soldier, and it is so fucking expensive.
Yeah.
Like very expensive.
Yeah.
But I try every so often, maybe every 6 months, I'll go and have a look on eBay or on somewhere just to see if anyone's selling it. And they are not, because it is something I would love for me collection. It's one of my favorites. I do remember reading a run of them with Devil Dinosaur as well. I don't know if I'm making that up or not, but I'm sure like 2016 maybe. I could be completely making that up.
Was
He was
that
like-
was that the Secret Wars Planet Hulk?
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
That's why. Yes.
I have a print from the artist.
Mhm.
I got to know the artist a little bit who was on that Planet Hulk. Was it like the Cap Planet Hulk where he was like
It was like Baron. I just remember Barren Wastelands, but I had to read because I worked at another nerdy place at the time, and I think it was Nerdfeed. That's what they were called. And I did a full run reviews of every single Secret Wars issue. I knocked myself up for failure on that one.
Yeah,
I was exhausted by the
I
end.
tried to keep up with it for work. I couldn't. I did my best though.
One
But
thing
yeah,
I will always agree with Captain America. I might not like. It's one of the things like it's hard to relate because he's too much of a Boy Scout, almost like Superman. But his origin story is always done. Like if it's done in the comics, it was done in the movies. It is the best origin story that the comics have done to date.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I loved him in Civil War, comic book Civil War. I was very much on the side of Cap, and I went into it saying I'm not going to be biased. I love Captain America. I'm going to try and look at this from two perspectives.
There was a right and wrong side.
Yeah, there was.
I just wanted to go in it with an open mind, Jake.
I just love the fact that Punisher was like, I'm with Cap because I've always respected Captain America.
Yeah.
It's like
the Cap hated him.
If you think about it though, Punisher's a vet. Like to him, Captain America is more than just somebody who's on a superhero team with them. Captain America is like an iconic military legend.
Yeah,
he's a soldier. He is the soldier, and the reason he is Captain America is because of his heart, not because of like how strong or well.
Oh, definitely. He's still a skinny kid from Brooklyn who jumped on that grenade.
If I remember right, like he's not nice to Punisher, but Punisher's like, I don't care anyway. I think he kicks him out, doesn't he? Of like the little side group.
Yeah, he kicks him out in the end because he's just had enough of his.
I'm happy.
Doesn't.
Sorry, it's just that reminded me of the favorite interaction with Punisher is the one where he meets Rocket Raccoon. And they're comparing guns. Sorry.
I can just imagine that kind of interaction.
Original sin. Sorry.
What were you going to say, Lee?
I was just going to say, I don't even think the fact that he's a super soldier is his greatest power. His greatest power is his power of will.
Yeah.
He doesn't give up, and I think that is relatable. In a world where everyone has all these ridiculous powers, where they can turn into spiders or like read people's minds and things like that, he just doesn't give up, no matter what the odds are. In the comics and the films, and I think that's his best trait
because he can do it all day.
That's what made me.
I knew she wanted to.
And he's got America's ass.
That's what made me fall in love with him as well. Infinity War. like I've said it before, but just when he walks up to Thanos and punches him in the face, it's like Lee was saying, like by our standards, he's incredibly powerful, but by Marvel hero standards, he's kind of middle of the pack.
Yeah.
No, he is,
on physical power level. But yeah, just that he would just go and punch him, just because it's like the right thing to do, because Thanos deserved a punch in that moment.
It's when he tightens his shield up. If we're talking about the movie side, he's just a completely broken person, and he's physically, mentally drained, and he still manages to stand up and tighten his broken shield and still ready to go. He's still, and then that moment that breaks me.
I'm getting goosebumps and tingles just off you saying that.
It's that on your left, and the tea is. He doesn't even have to see it. It's just the crackling of
his friend.
As he's there, just that crackling, and then all of a sudden, you just hear him, and then T'Challa's the first one to step out, and I'm like, oh my god, a broken mess.
Yeah, especially since that scene, if you watch it now, just takes on a whole new emotional level as well.
Definitely.
Massively. So
Jake,
yeah, Captain America.
So Jake, your first pick.
Yeah, but that's a pretty good segue, because my rotating fifth slot that finally landed is Thanos. Specifically comic book. I'm not that much of a movie Thanos fan.
But you agree with him.
You won that fan because in the comics it wasn't over balance. It was because he was trying to show off to a woman.
Yeah. But yeah, Thanos, the Mad Titan himself. I guess what is he like? There was a race of people who lived on Titan, one of was Jupiter's moons or something.
It's been a long time since I've read Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah. He's your classic, like, thinks he's better than everyone, like scientist, being like, I've foreseen the destruction of all the world, like type of thing. But yeah, he's like Paul was saying in the comics, he like. What I like about him is that he's like a completely self-defeating villain. Like he's like he's not satisfied, because in Infinity Gauntlet he basically wins, and even that's not enough for him. He has like everything in the universe, and because he's courting the actual manifestation of death herself, and she won't notice him even after he's done all of that and taken over the entire universe, like murdered the Celestials' bodies. He falls apart for him, because he's just too, I don't know what it is. It's like misplaced pride. But yeah, I love that more than anything that happened in the movies, because like his plan didn't make sense. Like deleting half people to make the resources last longer or whatever we're talking about. But I also like him. I also do like is like, because he's like a big brawler type. Also, he can do both. He can be your guy on a throne making plans, or he can be down there like fighting people hand to hand.
And if we're going to talk about Thanos in the comics, we've got to name his best thing that he ever had in the comics, the Thanos copter. He had his own helicopter.
God, I did not know that.
Is that from an old from an old Wildcat issue or something?
Oh no, it was still in a comics. He used to fly about in a Thanos copter.
Wow.
There's a part in like a Guardians comic, I think, where someone shoves a cosmic cube between his legs, and it's like, that's a good comic panel right there. He's naked for some reason. I think he's been resurrected after Infinity Gauntlet or something like that.
There was a Thanos run that came out. I think it was
Thanos Quest, was it?
I'm not sure. It was just called Thanos. Lauren will probably know better than me. It was where he's basically going back through it. He kills Ebony Maw, or not Ebony Maw. One of the.
This is fairly recent, wasn't it? This is like in the past 5 years.
Oh, okay. I haven't checked that out.
It was one where he destroys the Silver Surfer. He kills the Silver Surfer, and
leave him alone.
It was the first appearance of the Cosmic Ghost Rider or something like that, wasn't it? That's one of those appearances. But it was like going back and seeing the Hulk and the Hulk's son, like in the future and stuff like that. But it was dark as fuck and really, really quite interesting, the run. But
that's just kind of jogged my memory. But like, if you get a chance, because obviously everyone's probably read some part of Infinity Gauntlet, but like previous to that, there was Thanos Quest where it was him getting the stones, because Infinity Gauntlet kind of
He's
drops
just got
straight
it.
in quickly.
Yeah.
But he did basically go around the universe and like best each of the holders of the stones, whether it was in like a trick of the mind, like or a contest type of thing. And you obviously get a lot of nice visuals of him like standing on like crazy purple mountains, like just talking into the ether with like swirly planets behind him. I just love all that because he's like, he can be like Shakespearean, but right down to it, he's just kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
Like at the end of
very
the day.
much so.
Yeah.
I think some of the. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, as with most villains and stuff like that, some of them have like a good, decent backstory or reasons why they're assholes. But I think with Thanos, he's just a dick.
Yeah, he has reasons, but the bad reasons. But you can't. He's too powerful to like tell him that.
I think it's quite relatable as well. It's just some average guy trying to get out the friend zone.
And failing horribly.
Terribly. I was just going to say, I think some of the artwork in Infinity Gauntlet is some of the best I've ever seen. Like, it is absolutely
cool.
beautiful. If anyone wants to read it on it or hasn't read it, please, it is.
It's nothing like the movies when you think about that side of it.
No,
like
don't, because Adam Warlock's in it.
And Nebula's the bad guy in the comics as well. So
yeah, she's not very good. I mean, she's very very different looking Nebula, but but yeah, I think it was one that I would put off for so long. And like I get quite intimidated by all these style comics where it's like the writing's so small and it's all crammed in together, and I'm like, my eyes can't like take in half the stuff.
The cosmic stuff is notoriously like hard to.
They were on some fucking class drugs back then for some of the hard work, and so some of this.
Definitely.
But yeah, that's an interesting one. Like I say, the first bad guy has appeared, and I knew Jake wouldn't let us down.
Also, like he's like going back to the Venom, he's got style, like his giant golden suit with like spikes everywhere. I'm like, he knows what he's doing.
He can really make purple and gold look amazing.
Cool. So yes,
style.
So
bold combo.
Yeah, so I'm going to follow Thanos. Okay.
Yes.
So going back to what I said before we start like picking the top fives, with this, with one character in particular, I'll go with him first. I didn't pick him overall because if I said overall, like literally pretty much, I think it'll be on most of our lists. I've went for a very specific version of this character, just because.
I like that.
Just because this comic book or four book special was and is my top tier comic that I've ever read, and it was the one that made us absolutely just fall in love with this character, not because of his strength but because of his weaknesses in this comic. And again, I know I've read this speech before and I'll read it again. So it's just one of the most like iconic speeches, like monologues in comics, because of who it's said to and what it meant as well. So I'll read it. So I want you to remember, Clark, in all the years to come, in our most private moments, I want you to remember my hand at your throat. I want you to remember the one man who beat you. So my version is Batman, but not just any Batman. The Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns.
Yes,
that's interesting. I hate this.
Yes,
Batman.
and I love the fact that you like kind of like it's not just Batman overall. It's like this specific Batman. Like, I love that.
Because this is the broken Bat. This is not Batman in his prime. This is not Batman beating villains easily. He actually is defeated like in a fight initially with the mutant leader as well, and he's kind of like embarrassed. This is like I say, I think he's 55 or 56 in the comic.
Easy, but I remember when I first picked it up, Anthony, he's an old man, by the way. I was like, Jesus, Anthony's like 55 or something.
Yeah, and it's just such an interesting take, like how just basically how much he's changed. How like at this point he's given up being the Bat, but he's drawn back into it because Gotham has become such a mess, and how like say Clark Superman has become a bit of a Boy Scout to the president, doing like missions and stuff on the whims of a president rather than the whims of his own. And even to the end, and again, spoilers if you haven't read this comic, Batman's always got a plan. Batman's always got it figured out. He always knows how to win, but not in the way that you would always think. So the way he wins, he's having his final battle with Superman in Crime Alley, where his parents died, and Batman's won. Batman's beaten Superman because little help from the Green Arrow shooting a kryptonite dart into Superman to weaken him, and Batman isn't taken down by anyone. He's taken down by a heart attack.
Yeah.
And it's
his
so
own,
well.
his own body give him. Oh my gosh!
And that's what you think, because at the funeral, Superman's there, and he gives a wink to. I can't remember the sidekick's name now because my brain's just went things. Kelly, Cassandra, yeah, Cassie. Is it Cassie?
Carrie.
Carrie. That's
Carrie.
the one.
Carrie's a future one.
Yeah, because he hears Batman's heartbeat. Batman basically took a drug to fake his own death, and you see at the end Batman, the Green Arrow, and a few of his little gang members that he brought along the way, running off to fight crime their own way. And I just thought, as a story, as a Batman story, it's so perfectly well told, just simply because it shows every facet, every vulnerability. It's not showing Batman as this big, scary, badass person as he's been. It's basically showing him how to think and outplay a game of chess against the people then, like moving the board. And like Frank Miller as well. I know he gets a lot of shit for some of the stuff he does, but his storytelling in the Batman ones, again, that made me love the character more than I'd ever thought.
Yeah, I totally get that. It's been a long time since I've read it. But when I went on my Batman run not long ago, that was one of the ones I was like, I must get back and read that at some point, because my memory's shocking. I can't remember half the shit I've read.
Same.
Yes.
I think like
Good choice.
when I said like I hate this Batman, I wasn't just like trying to poo-poo on your favorite comic.
No, it's fine.
comic or anything. But, like, I honestly could not like jive with this book like whatsoever. Like I think I've read like the two parts maybe like 3 times, like trying to get it. I don't know, maybe it was just too like ugly and gritty or something, and that's like not what I was looking for.
The artwork's hard to get your head around because it's very stylized in a way that it's meant to be uncompromising and make you feel a bit uncomfortable.
I think maybe I just I'm more hopeful that Batman wouldn't stoop to those levels. And I don't think he like I prefer him to be Clark's friend. I know, like, you know, there's the whole weird stuff with like Lex and Superman where he's, you know, getting weird and stuff with the politicians, but like like I don't know, like I think I like a more hopeful Batman, and that seemed like almost like verging on nihilistic and stuff. And doesn't he like kill the Joker in like the asylum or something at some part? Or Joker breaks his own neck or something weird like that when he meets him.
I can't remember now, but I know like it starts off because Gordon killed a 17-year-old, I think, by accident. So that's where it brings Batman out of the shadows and stuff as well. But again, I've not read it in a while, but I know like when it comes to like books that touches, and not in that way, Glee, don't get excited. That one again, it just absolutely smashes us every time.
Oh, that's good. Cool. No, I'm glad to hear like a perspective, because I think I basically just read it on my own because obviously loads of people recommend it. But yeah, I think like future Batman, I think maybe I'd seen Batman Beyond first, so I might be colored a bit by like that's not what he does. He trains McGinnis.
That's a very like a fluffy version of it, shall we say?
Yeah.
Yes, so that's my first pick. Cool.
Good first choices, strong first choices. Let's go to round 2.
So Lauren, is it another X-Men pick now?
No, I'm going to go off on a little tangent to the original superhero, the very first one who could fly, Namor the Submariner. He flew before Superman, which is a very little known fact, but
with his little wing feet.
Yeah, Superman used to leap tall buildings in a single bound.
But with his little ankle wings, Namor could
technically, it is an X-Men character, so he wasn't
kind of, but he was before that. He was in his own right, a hero. He has tangled with Captain America. He has been part of Cap's team in World War II. Then when they did obviously the before Marvel was Marvel. They did the wartime books, and he was on Cap's team then. And then in the 70s, they did the Invaders, which is a little retcon team that they set up, which I love this team. It's such a weird little team, but it's Captain America, Bucky, Namor. It is the original Human Torch. And then there's like a rotating the Toro, who was Torch's little sidekick. And then had these rotating members of like, they'd have like different characters come in. It was like Union Jack, Spitfire. It was the Wiz, Miss America, those kind of characters. Very cheesy, very funny. But what I have liked for so long about the Submariner is he's a dick.
Yeah.
He is a fucking prick.
Wow, Lauren's chucking the big guns out there.
He is. He's a prick, but that's why I love him. He's just like, but he doesn't. He's a dick, but he's doing it in the defense of his people and his kingdom.
Yeah, it's always to do with his people. Anything
like,
that's
he's kind of like Doom in the sense that Doom is a bit of a dictator over Latveria, but he genuinely treats his peasants quite well.
His peasants.
Like, yeah, they are the serfs, but you know they've got food.
He's the ultimate Tory.
They've got healthcare. No, they've got food, education, and healthcare. He's not a Tory.
Doom missiles for all.
Doom bots for all. But it's very similar to Namor and his people. He looks after his people. He's trying to. And it's quite forward thinking in the sense that he's been defending the oceans for decades.
Yeah.
Given what we as humanity are doing to the real oceans. And he's just like, what if you're gonna like throw shit in the sea, you're gonna bomb the sea, you're gonna do this, I'm gonna do it back. Which is that's fair enough.
Yeah.
And it is interesting how he has kind of cycled around so much of the Marvel universe. He's gone through so many different kind of like different teams, different groups. He's been a hero, he's been a villain. You know, he has been chasing Sue Richards for decades.
And, oh my.
I mean, Namor, Reed Richards.
Well, those tiny pants.
Choice. I'm not gonna lie. It's just like,
to be fair though, Reed can stretch in places where no man else can stretch.
Exactly. I know who I'm choosing.
I'm gonna go all Brody on you here and start talking about like superhero penises and stuff.
Oh, God.
But
Paulus apparently got two though. Just gonna put that out there.
Ah, yes, I did hear that rumor. Yes.
The only Namor I think I've seen like in comics only is like when he's shown up in the Illuminati, like the shadow cabal of Marvel big brains that tries to like run the world basically. It's specifically like Planet Hulk, like he's on that sort of decision council. The decision to shoot the Hulk into the sun because he's too dangerous, which is very nice of them. I can't remember if he agreed though. I get a feeling Black Panther was the only one who was like, no, this is a bad idea.
He would have totally been like, yeah, sure, do it.
Yeah, just go ahead.
You could put him at the bottom of the ocean.
He's a pragmatist.
It would be someone else's problem.
He was always a character who was like Doctor Strange for years, just appeared in issues and runs, just like he never had his own. He just appeared, and Namor for me was like that. He just appeared, he was just there, and then he was gone. So I didn't really get to know him a lot. I did write an article about him years ago, so I had to do a lot of research on him, and I did find these characteristics incredibly interesting, but obviously not enough to where I picked up anything to do with him.
He's had like several random like minis, like his own little solo series, and he was in the Defenders, and he has had I think it's the fact that he precedes almost every other Marvel character. He is Marvel before Marvel.
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
he's
he
still
was.
here. He's still around, and
And he's
now
only
we've got him on the cinema
Yeah.
screen, and they did make a massive change in many aspects, but I think he was still the character I knew at the core.
Yeah.
The
Like-
characteristics of him, absolutely. But the look, I was looking more of I was hoping, more for the imagery that I'd seen in
It's
the
more the little
days.
pants.
Yes.
Little pants, hard
Little
widow's
pants,
peak.
yes.
Sammy's all about the
yes.
little pants. That's what
Exactly. I'm
Little
not. I
panties.
can't deny it. That was the look I thought we. But don't get us wrong. I
He had-
thought the character that we got in Black Panther 2 was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
I
he felt-
thoroughly
He
enjoyed
felt
him.
like a young name
Yeah.
more to me, like like he's got room to grow.
He said
Yeah.
Imperious Rex. I was just like, when that happened, like, he said it. I was just like, I really listened. I was just like, that's
Well, I love
hard.
when something can do it and you can nerd out like proper, and actually it might not be that everyone in that room gets
Yeah.
that, but it's just
Yeah.
like kind of little thing for yourself there.
Yeah, I witnessed that this year.
Always. But yes, very good second pick. So Lee, he's looking
Right,
very,
yeah,
looking very studious in there. Like
I know
he's taking it all
you're
in.
taking this very seriously, Lee.
I'm just listen. I am a
Professional.
bit nervous about my next pick because I know it's one of Paul's favorite characters, and
I'm not
so
going to
anyway,
don't worry.
So this character came out in 1991 as a video game character, but it had a comic book released alongside it, which then developed into a series of comic books. He's blue, he's fast, he's a bastard. It's Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, that is so
That's
cool.
an interesting
Lee, what a way to
choice.
take us away from superheroes.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier on, there wasn't many comic books in the newsagents that I lived near. But every fortnight there was something called Sonic the Comic.
Oh yeah.
Amazing title. Whoever
That's
wrote
cute.
that, whoever sat in that
Yeah.
writing room and went, Sonic, I love it.
And as far as I'm concerned, like 1991 till like 1993 or something was Sonic's time.
He
That
fucking
was-
dominated, let's be
Yeah.
honest.
Sorry, Jake. I know
No, honestly,
you're Team Mario, but I
But-
think Sonic did take over for a while.
no, but
You're
I
the
had
blue
that
fucking
exact.
whore.
I had that exact same experience though, where like going into the local shop and being like, "Hang on a sec, that's Supersonic on the shelf. I want to read that. Why is he all spiky and looking evil?" It was something to do with he got thrown down a well that had Chaos Emerald energy, and then he came out evil and tried to kill Amy. Like there were serious comics. It wasn't like laughy fun time like the cartoons at the time.
It's weird.
No, it was
I remember
amazing.
I remember the cartoon was fun. I never read the comics. I'll be honest. I
No,
did like
I-
I did like Sonic until
It's
Back
Archie
in.
comics, I think,
Until he
at the
got the
moment.
better of you.
Yeah, it transitioned
is.
into Archie comics, so it was like they took the brand at some point and continued the story.
Genuinely didn't know. I've learned something new today because I did not
Yeah.
know that.
But to be playing a game like back then, it was just this is the good guy, this is the bad guy, and you
Collect
just had to
them
go through
rings.
and
Yeah.
defeat
Freedom.
Dr. Robotnik. That was
free,
it.
free the animals that Dr. Robotnik's been mean to. I never knew there was a comic, I'll be honest. That one obviously did
Wow.
pass me by, but as we know, I'm not the biggest fan of Sonic, so
Yeah. But no, the comic it just like kind of gave you a backstory about everything, how these characters developed. It was Dr. Robotnik, which used to be Dr. Kinderball, which is Robotnik backwards. But he
Yeah.
tripped on a wire in his laboratory whilst holding a rotten egg, used
Wow.
with the egg, and became
the
Eggman
Eggman. Oh wow.
or Dr.
Of
Robotnik.
course.
Mind blown.
Is that the one
Favorite.
where it shows that Sonic was a regular, like photorealistic hedgehog as well before he
What?
Yeah,
got
he was a
like...
brown hedgehog, but
Yeah.
he had
No.
some running shoes given to him by Dr. Kinderball, which were based on Michael Jackson's shoes from either the Bad or the Thriller video. Can't remember which
Okay.
See,
Is
Sonic's
it not like-
evil. Paul was right.
Is it not Smooth
Um,
Criminal? Because I'm trying to think of the shoes, like the
They're like
Because
white
because the
shoes.
war, like kind
So
of
we've got a
50s
Sonic
style
Michael
shoes.
Jackson crossover. See, I told you it was a wrong one.
Oh my god!
Again,
I
though.
am loving this league. Keep going.
Now Sonic goes into
Um,
chases after kids next, does he? But
Oh my god!
this is
It's
gonna
not
get
even past the watershed.
demonetized already, so it's fine.
And it wasn't just Sonic in the comic as well. So it would go into other things that had been released on the Sega Mega Drive. So there would be like Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage.
Nice.
So all of these games
There was
used
a
to get
Sonic
their own little...
crossover with Golden Axe.
Oh no, well Sonic's not in it, but it would have like a comic strip in.
Give me that comic now.
But also,
That
like all
is
these classic
crazy.
games had their own comic strips, and it's just amazing.
So He-Man must have started that phase as well, because didn't it like bring out the comic to sell like
Yeah,
sell
it
the
was to run
figures and
alongside
stuff
it.
of it,
You would
stuff
get comics
Transformers as
inside some Transformers figures, like 3
Uh-huh.
pages or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, like this was very much like Sonic was in the newsage, and it's, like I said, eventually transferred to like Archie comics. But it's got like a vast storyline of furry animals that go on adventures, like serious adventures, like freedom fighter style
So
thing.
did Sonic create furries?
Absolutely.
Possibly, yeah.
Made a big hand.
That damn
They've been
hedgehog.
around a lot longer.
I hate that hedgehog.
I've never known anyone have so much hatred for a bloody animated character.
Robotnik.
If you watch the stream, you find out why.
I saw enough of that stream, and that was for what I saw enough. You went on scandalously.
I think the point I lost it when I booted the desk and my camera fell off as well. So.
But yeah, Lisa, did you actually read a lot of these? Because I like the corner shop comic was very much like, oh, I found this mask comic, I will never see one ever again.
Yeah,
it's kind of how it felt to me as a kid.
That's what I hated about like magazines and comics in the day, was like, if they could be there 1 week and never ever seen again.
Yeah. And the problem was with a lot of UK newsage comics, they were reprinted for the UK market and realised it.
Oh, have I lost Lauren?
Oh, Lauren,
No, I just finished what I said. Hello.
You're breaking up
I
for a
think
bit
you
there,
broke
Lauren.
slightly.
you broke up.
Oh, okay. I did just like voice, but they said anything. I just like.
Do you know what it is? Because you're frozen. Your screen's frozen, so it
Oh.
looked like to us you were still talking.
Oh, okay.
I have to be careful because my headphones
That's
lose its
fine.
Bluetooth sometimes, and I like drop off.
The chat's convinced that Paul is Dr. Robotnik now.
I mean, very possible.
You just need some
Sorry.
goggles and you'll be most of the way there.
Oh, I know what I'm getting him for his birthday this year.
Yes, I think Lauren's I having a few internet connections there, Lauren.
I'm here.
You keep breaking up, Lauren.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. I don't know what I can do about it. Sorry.
It should settle. It'll hopefully settle.
Yeah.
I hope you settle down. So
It'll figure itself out.
Yeah.
don't worry, Lee, you won't get beaten for that choice. Don't worry.
No,
Good.
we won't let him.
So up to Sammy now.
Oh, me. Okay. I'm gonna go with my first lady off the bat. I read one of the greatest issues of the New 52 back on New Year's Day. I want to say 2016, and I did not stop until that whole series was finished, and it was Gail Simone's, and it is all about my favorite Barbara Gordon.
Nice.
Yes, I love Barbara Gordon. I've loved her as the Oracle. I've loved her as just plain old Barbara or Batgirl. But this series alone, I'm not lying when I say I didn't move. I had it all digitally. I was on my laptop on New Year's Day from about 9 o'clock in the morning till late at night. I could not physically stop reading until I was finished. I was in that world. I have never felt so immersed in a comic book in my life. And it was fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I know the New 52 run had some of the most beautiful comic book covers as well when it comes to Batgirl. The Adam Hughes issues, like the first one and few issues were stunning. But yeah, poor Barbara, she's had a rough ride in the comic world as well.
She did. And this whole thing was, so obviously the effects of what happened in The Killing Joke still resonates with her throughout this series. But it's all to do with, oh God, this is how bad my memory is. I'm sure it's to do about a brother. And it's a psychological drama throughout of between a brother, a father, her trying to get to grips with her own life. It was just unreal. And for me to it's kind of like, when it comes to reading, I'm not the greatest, dyslexic. I don't read a lot. I can read a lot of biographies because I'm nosy and I want to know people's lives, and I can do that quite simply. But when it comes to actual stories, I struggle a lot, and I struggle to keep my brain kind of remembering what it is I've just read. But this was, it just stuck with us. And for me to be able to pick up the different writing styles when Gail Simone left the issue, to then for her to come back, I could tell the difference. I was like, if she hadn't come back, I seriously would have stopped at that point. If I knew, because I knew she did, but if I knew she hadn't, I would have stopped, because I don't think that wasn't my Barbara anymore. They weren't writing Barbara the way Gail can. And I was like, I will check out at this point. But I thought, no, she's coming back. It's gonna be okay. You're gonna get through this. But Barbara is she's so special to us. I remember getting the Arkham Asylum, Arkham Knight video game, and getting the download content for Barbara. I was so excited. I was buzzing. I generally think I took a half day off work just to get that when it came out.
I think I took a day off work when the first game came out, because I'd played the demo and I was like, I know I need to play this. I need to sit in a dark room all day.
This is when I used to I took shit very seriously. I took a day off holiday when a YouTuber was bringing out a video, premiering the video. I took this shit seriously.
God, do you think people do that for us? Go on.
I would like to think so. I would we have ours all in the night time. This was being released 9 o'clock during the day, and I was like, I have to watch it.
I'm gonna release some 5-minute content so someone has to take a you will worship us. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I would just remember playing ours, and even though I was devastated for the amount of time that I got with her in that video game, because it's not a lot.
No,
I was still very grateful for the time I got to play her. And
I'll say it as well. I know this is going to sound like a really sexist comment. Not many people can look as hot as Barbara does in a bad outfit. I'll be honest there.
All my screensavers was Barbara Gordon in that suit.
This was when she got the new outfit, wasn't it? With the buttons and stuff, a kind of
the black and the gold and the purple. Yeah, she just
I think I definitely read this when it came out, because I was well into New 52, because I was pretty much the comic fan it was written for, the person who'd never had a jumping in point presented to them yet. But I think I might have fell off with the writer change, but I didn't know at the time it was happening, if that makes sense. I wasn't in on the internal politics, but I just fell off, probably because the writing wasn't as good at some point.
I only know because the whole run was out. So I only knew because I was looking for something to read, because at the time I consumed so much. I had comic books at my fingertips, so if I wanted to read something, I could just get it. But it was mine straight away, and that was what I did with this one.
Yeah, but I even love Barbara in the old Adam West 1966 version as well. Whenever she used to jump on the little bike, the bat motorbike and stuff, you used to see her flying about. But I don't think Barbara gets as much love as she probably deserves, because she's always been done dirty in the comics. If there's anything bad to happen, it's she's the rag dog. She's the one that they take the kicking out and say, "Oh, we're going to punish Batman. We'll do something to Barbara. We'll punish Jim. We can't do anything bad to Jim. We'll do it to Barbara."
Yeah, and this is what Gail didn't want to do in this series, was for her to be the punching bag, and for her to be she wanted her to go from victim to hero. and that's kind of what you got with this series. I always remember the controversy around the variant cover. Can anyone remember it?
Yes, the smiling one with the.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that, and I took that like, it was like it was almost affecting a family member, the way
Yeah.
that I kind of reacted to it. She is so special to us. Like I always try, if I want to get back into like comic reading, I feel like this would be the one that I would go back to just to get that feeling back again. Because it was a great time in my life. I loved it.
Lauren might be no more than me, but that variant cover was. I always thought it was like a fake that was never released. It was just more like an urban legend that.
No,
No.
it was real, but they pulled it. Did it happen before or after the Spider-Woman Manara?
It was
cover?
it was the Joker's 70th birthday, and a lot of they released a preview of the variant covers that were going to be for the 70th birthday, and of all the ones they picked, they picked that one. Yeah,
but yeah, that was...
and the internet went fucking wild.
Yeah, but most of it was turning against the cover. Like,
yeah.
Can you like describe it, because I can't remember.
It was the Joker. He had a gun. He had his like arm around a very frightened looking, traumatized looking Babs.
Yeah, I hate that whole part of the story anyway.
She had a tear going down her. She had a tear going down her face, and she looked terrified with him behind her.
It was obviously the implications of what happens in the Killing Joke as well. It was just a very poor choice for a cover. But again, it was Babs. It wasn't one of the Robins. It wasn't Bruce.
It was bringing
Babs. It was the girl.
It was bringing Gail Simone's argument, because like I was talking before we came on here, Gail started a massive movement with women in the refrigerator, and it was all to do with women being the catalyst for male storylines. So if anything was going to happen to progress a male storyline, it was going to happen to a female character. And it kind of like this whole thing, and especially with how close Gail Simone is to Barbara Gordon, it kind of like brought that back again, because this movement was massive, and this was the early days of the internet, where forums were the only way you could communicate with people. And it was absolutely huge, to the point where it made mainstream news, because she went after everyone. Everyone. It was Kyle Rayner, the woman in the refrigerator. It was a Green Lantern.
Oh yeah. But it's like it goes back to like Gwen Stacy and stuff like that, really, when you think about it.
But it was called Woman in the Refrigerator because she was actually dead in the refrigerator.
And
he comes home, doesn't he?
But it was only done to enrage the male hero. It wasn't done for any other reason. It was just to enrage them and to progress their storyline, and they were getting sick of women being the target for that kind of storytelling. So that all happened, and that was like years and years ago. And then this happens, and it brings it full circle again. And obviously what happened with Barbara,
especially at the point they were writing Babs the way they were, to make her this powerful young heroine who
she was going through her renaissance stage. She was kind of like she evolved from what Gail had brought to kind of like commercial. Like they were trying to really push Barbara into this commercial space, and this whole thing just blew up, and it just brought back a lot of history within the DC family.
This variant cover just undermined all of that. All that progression, all that development. It's just like, oh look, she's still a victim.
But to me, she'll never be the victim. She is my absolute hero.
That run was like iconic as well, for like that's basically became the default, like Barbara Gordon Batgirl now.
I think everyone does use that as the reference point for like Barb's now, so it did a lot right. Yes, it's a very good pick for Babs.
Oh, and I'm very sorry to go on to a whole rant. it was important for
No,
this
I
because
didn't. I didn't know the full history. Like I said, I wasn't up on like comics politics. I'd hear bits and pieces, and I know there's a lot of comics politics.
There's a lot. There is a
catch up
lot. There
on.
is a lot. And
We
that
could
is
do a
one
whole
part of
podcast
it.
on that if you want to get controversial.
But yes. So moving on to Jake for his second pick.
So this one is coming right out of the realm of superheroes, but Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead.
Oh, right.
Wow.
Interesting.
We gone comic book Walking Dead. Love it.
Not TV show.
No. Because that's not Rick Grimes. Well, it is Rick Grimes.
We've got the one on Bandit show, you see.
Yeah.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. Walking Dead was like a massively. It was one of those like comics where I just like consumed it like so fast. I don't know if it's just like Kirkman's writing style, or just because it was like so ridiculous with the plot twists, like every like handful of pages, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it always came back to like I loved like Rick as a character. Like obviously there's plenty of other ones you can like glom onto like as the series goes. But I just really liked his arc. And it wasn't like an arc where we got to see every single part of his life from start to finish like some other heroes. Like he comes in already like, you know, a policeman, but we do get to see his like full arc in like the new world that he wakes up in. And I think that's really interesting because he gets to like be our eyes and ears into this world, like as he's like waking up. Yeah, he gets like, you know, woken up into it. He doesn't see it gradually happen.
So
but no, like I just really like that you can tell Robert Kirkman was like, this is a Rick story for like for that part, you know, like that first kind of but yeah, God, like just the amount of stuff he has to go through, and like the hand chopping off thing, like I know that I think you told me on the last comics thing we did that they didn't end up liking that.
Kirkman hated what he did there. He didn't like the fact that he debilitated his main star or his main character. I loved
it though, because it
me too, because it's the whole story behind it as well, and especially with like the cannibals.
Yeah, but it happened like so quick and horribly as well. You were just like, no way. You didn't get a chance to like process it before it was already like done.
I love Kirkman's style of writing. I like it's easy breezy following along. Like there is no cleverness of like he's not trying to be an arsehole smarty person. He's just trying to tell a story. I also love the fact that how he sold it to Image Comics was, it's going to be a zombie apocalypse, and they all just went, yeah, done. It's been done before. Like that. No, come on, give us something more. And he's like, okay, and there's aliens. And they had the whole board of Image Comics believing that there was going to be an alien drop at some point until it got to issue 5 and he went, fuck no, there's no aliens. I just love that story from Kirkman, but I love The Walking Dead to a certain point, and then I lost stuff.
But that's the thing, if you walk away from the TV show, if you'd like to pick up the comic, because as Jake said, the comic wasn't the world, it was Rick Grimes' story. And that's from like issue 1 to the end issue where, spoilers, he dies.
That's God damn it. I'm joking.
Sorry, it's been out for a while. The comics have been out for a while.
It has. I got up to issue 100. Glenn's death caused me some trauma to where I was like, you know what? I genuinely don't know if I can go back here yet. And then just time spiraled, and I just never went back.
To be honest with you, I fell off around, I don't know what it was. I was looking at my Comixology. It wasn't long after 100. It was like when they were starting All Out War or whatever, like that kind of thing. But like, I think the part, obviously, like I wasn't like super like media savvy enough to see some of the cheesiness in The Walking Dead that I see now. Like, you know, the whole thing where he's like, we are the Walking Dead, like shouting at people. Like that is cheesy on reflection, but when you're like, if you're immersed in the moment, you're like, oh, this is cool. Like, they're the real monsters. But like, what my absolute favorite part is, I can't remember names of settlements or anything, but they get to a point like after the prison and stuff where they find this like safe haven community where everyone's like living out normal lives. And I remember there's like a part where they go to like, they're getting like they throw a welcome party for them, and they're all just like standing around awkwardly at the party, and they're just like, we can't do this. Like they all realize at the same time that they've came too far. Like
Yeah.
they're basically not like a
They're not in
societal
Kansas anymore.
humans
The cons-
anymore.
it was Alexander that they went to. Alexandria.
Yeah, is that what it was called?
Yeah, I think so.
That
Yeah,
might have
and I
been the
remember-
pre-Negan. Actually, that might have been where he
Oh,
came in to that.
It's just before. Yeah, it's just before Negan. It's when the because obviously in the comic book to the TV series there's a lot of changes.
Like
Carol is not there.
The
Yeah.
governor in the comics was terrifying compared to what he was in the
menacing.
that thing with the tank. That's just an all-time great page when you're like, no, like you can't do this. These are just regular people with axes.
Yeah, there's a lot of character changes and a lot of and characters in there that are not mentioned at all in the thingy, and hated watching the TV show with me.
Yeah,
because
it was a big
when the Whisperers came on, I was like, oh my gosh, the Whisperers, and he was like, oh, I cannot do this for you now.
But even the stuff, even just the base thing with his say I'm terrible, but it's just his friend, who betrays him, tries to get with Laurie and
Shane.
stuff. Yeah, Shane. The stuff with that, it plays out super quick in the comics. Like it's not like a 2-season drawn out multi-volume thing.
It's over very quickly.
But it's awesome because it's like your first taste of like, oh, this story's just gonna go a mile a minute and it's never gonna stop, because that's the first moment you figure out like they're all already infected as well, where you just get back up even if you haven't been bit. I really liked the crazy journey he went on, and I would always recommend comics like before TV show.
Especially
there's
that one, because it's that one is just I read it after watching a few series of The Walking Dead, and even I kind of like had to like wipe my brain a bit and kind of like, you need to just concentrate on this world and not that world. And when you can do that, then it becomes fucking amazing. If you're not sitting comparing it to the TV show, because what you have to always remember, that came first.
Well, to be fair though, the TV show stopped being The Walking Dead, and as someone said in the chat, it just started becoming a drama about people and then having zombies in the background. And that's what the comics never lost off that.
No.
There was always proved that man, or the human element, was the most evil part, but the zombies, like that fear of the zombies, never went away.
Yeah, because there was that awesome moment where they realized that they are like capable of taking on like a horde of like 50, and they kind of all just stand around at the end of the battle and they're like, oh, we actually like did that. Because obviously they've been like scrambling for so long, but they've eventually like all hardened themselves and like
true zombie warriors.
Yeah, it was just it was an interesting take that I'd never seen before. And there's a lot of tragedy in that man's life. But honestly, that thing, like, I wasn't too sure how it all ended because I fell off at some point. But I'm sure the original foreword from Kirkman is like, this is Rick Grimes' story. It's beginning with him and it will end with him. So
as it should have been.
I remember something like that.
Yeah. But I know the TV show did differently, I think, because Andrew Lincoln wanted out.
But if they weren't thinking of longevity and actually thinking of storytelling, they could have done the Rick Grimes story with Lincoln completely on board, and not to the point where he was either absolutely knackered or just sick to shit of playing that character.
They could have just done it in 6 seasons. 6 seasons and done.
They should have done it.
Yeah.
It took them like 3 to get to the prison, didn't it? Which is like that's the first moment in the comics where you're like, all right, this is what the comic's gonna be. Like, it took them way too long to even
they slowed everything down way too much, including the zombies. Literally, the first episode, the zombies are running after them, climbing fences and everything. And then season 2 comes and
shambles.
And they're like, and then they get to the final episode and there's zombies climbing things and they're going, oh my god, I didn't know they could do that. And it's like, did you not watch season 1?
No, they clearly didn't. They clearly forgot about that. Bastards. But yes, good choice.
Good
Rick
choice.
I'm a little bit gutted because my next pick would have been a good segue from what Sam was talking about with all the political elements and stuff. So again, I've got a little monologue because I'm all full of the monologues today, so don't worry. I'll try and say this, but I'm going to probably screw it up because it is one of the most ridiculous things to ever say. But I love this comic. I was obsessed with the character it's based on in history as well. So the only verdict is vengeance and vendetta, held in volative, not in vain, for the value and vicinity of such shall one day vindicate the vigilant of the victorious verily and viciously and of verbally veers most verbose. So let me simply add that it is my very good honour to meet you, and you may call me V. So V from Vendetta.
That was a bloody tongue twister.
This character in the comics, like I was in love with the story of Guy Fawkes as a kid, and I loved the idea of basically, again, might be a little bit of, like the rebellion inside of us of how people can overthrow the government and show the government that they're not the ones in charge, that we're the people and they should be serving the people. And I think this was based in the 80s very much of the time, and we are very much of the time now. And if
we're in the same time, same government.
And if anyone wants to get angry or feel like this isn't what's happening, read this comic and it will fill you with so much dread and like
basically predicted the future. It's fucking terrifying.
It's not. It's because under the same leadership, nothing will change. If you read the introduction from Alan Moore on V for Vendetta, he sets the scene of where he's at when he's writing it, and he tells you about the Thatcher government and where they are. That I hate this, that she was ready to make concentration camps for the gays. That's the kind of world he was in when he was writing this, and it's always stuck with me, that introduction, because there's some elements in there that we would never have now, just because of the times that we're in, but there is a lot that's in there that is still prevalent today, and it's fucking terrifying.
And it's a book you read and you realize how angry the people were who wrote this book as well. There's just full of passion, but that, like, leaving the comic aside, and like I say, that's me political rant out of the way, but the character of V is such a vaudevillian villain. Like, I don't even think I would call him a villain. He's like an anti-hero. He's everything that you want a swashbuckling hero to be. His look is the most iconic, like, for a non-big like DC or Marvel comic. It transcends a lot of things. Like I say, it's been taken over by so many different activist groups and as such, and the message is strong as well.
Those kids probably don't even know where that mask came from.
No,
like they got no idea. Like we used to sell it. We used to sell it, and people just call it the anonymous mask.
Yeah.
Oh, that would make me ill. You've got to use the original source material.
You mean I reckon Vendetta mask?
Yeah, but isn't that like part of the story? Like it's like he wants to get a symbol. Like that's like it's like you say it's like in real life. It's actually happening.
Obviously, thinking about it like that, it didn't bother me so much, but at the time it super bothered me.
Oh yeah.
I love the fact that you described him as a vaudevillian kind of style character, because that is exactly what he's like. He's so theatrical. It's amazing. It's kind of inspiring just to, like, you want to be as clever and as suave and charming and, you know, fast talking as what he is.
And to not, like, you need someone who's gonna do like the dirty jobs and talk, you know, like you need that. He's like all of the parts of like a rebellion in one. Like, you know, he can fight, he can talk, you know, he can, you know, like rise. Like,
no, but like just for iconic look and like take away, like, even I know a lot of the film gets a lot of shit, but the film's not as bad as people make out. Like, except from Natalie Portman's Dick Van Dyke impressions. But again,
governor.
but it's got Stephen Fry in, who's absolutely brilliant in this movie. But if you go back and read the comic, like, the character is so rounded for what he does as well. Like, you love this character, you hate the character, you fall head over heels, and like you join the revolution through his eyes as well. It's inspiring, and it's one of the most inspiring comics I've ever wrote.
Yeah. Jake, I
Read,
think
sorry.
you would love it if you haven't already.
Do you want Alan Moore?
Yeah,
Shock.
I'm growing the beard there. Like, see, I'm going through the wall.
I don't hate the movie. I think it's important to remember when it was made.
Oh yeah.
Like, I think if it was made now, they would probably make it a HBO Max mini rather than a movie.
Yeah.
And I think they would definitely cut to those like darker elements. Like at the start of the comic, Evie's basically out soliciting herself.
Yeah.
She's out trying to earn money by being a prostitute. But she falls foul of the inspectors, God, what they called the policey guys.
They're
not police, but they're like kind of like street warden.
Yes, I think the wardens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that and like, because she's just a poor kid. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's trying to earn money, and yeah, it's just like the desperation of her is clear from that moment. Like the situation she then has to put herself in through, it's traumatic, but it's very much what a lot of women have done throughout society who don't have much money, who don't have much resource, who still do that. And it's very relevant, and Alan Moore can make some questionable choices sometimes in writing female characters. But I think this is one of his more realistic.
I think this is where he took shit seriously, because in Lost Girls doesn't take it fucking seriously at all. But in this, he very much he couldn't not with the topic that's at hand. He couldn't not. This is why I think Lost Girls got made. It was like his release.
It was certainly a release of something, and it was banned at several points because it's basically child pornography.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah. Oh, Lost Girls is awful.
Yeah.
Never looked into it. Probably never will.
Strike that off the recommend.
Yeah. You might get yourself on a watch list if you're current with that.
Press stop, Lee. Don't.
Let me see your hands, Lee.
I'm not sure I understand.
Oh, me watch is just talking to us.
Wow.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
So yes. So that was my
awesome
V for Vendetta.
Pick. There is some fucking strong picks in this, mind. I'm impressed.
Oh.
I didn't think I'd get all political in some of them, but let's go for round 3.
Cool, Lauren.
Okay, I'm just gonna say my list has been changing. It keeps on changing.
I've done it 3 times while we've been talking.
But, okay, I'm gonna jump ahead to one at the end of my list. Again, it's somebody who's been a bit of a villain. He has had moments as a hero at points, but he is the original X-Men villain. He is the master of magnetism, Magneto.
I was hoping you were going to bring an X-Men in, because I remembered I've got this, because you said original artwork. So this is a Mike Diato Jr. Original artwork that I was given from the X-Men comics.
I like that.
But yes.
Oh, that's
really
special.
Yes. Was given as a present by one of Nick's family members, but yes, I just remembered I had that. Sorry, but yeah, sorry to jump in there.
But
Magneto.
I love Magneto. He has
sticky fingers.
At first in comic books, due to the Comic Code Authority, villains could not be portrayed in a sympathetic light. They had to just be villains. They couldn't have some kind of like reason, or they just had to be bad. You couldn't have some kind of little tinge of sympathetic, like, they were doing it because the mom was sick and they needed money kind of thing. They were just doing it because they were bad people.
Yes, scientists gone wrong.
Yeah, but as the Comic Code Authority, it waned over time until it was eventually jacked in by several publishers. They would bring in developments of characters and of villains, and obviously Magneto's backstory with, although it's probably changed again, but this is the version I stick to. He is the Holocaust survivor. He is that young man who escaped from Auschwitz with Magda, his wife. I think they weren't married at that point, but he made a desperate escape, and he never wanted that kind of thing to happen again. And he saw it coming with the mutants. And so instead of going down the benevolent path of Charles Xavier, because Charles Xavier is a dick, he went down the very kind of like extremist path of, we are better, we are evolution, we are the future. And it's very interesting how he was persecuted, but then he did really become the persecutor.
Yeah.
And it's just the psychology behind characters like Magneto are just fascinating.
Because he's very much like you're with me or against me type of thing.
Yeah,
like,
he is.
Comics. But
then he's also been like a member of the X-Men several times. He has joined them. He's been with their number. And there was quite a good run. It was after Schism, where there was a big fight post Avengers versus X-Men, where they all had a fight. And it was like Cyclops took some of the team to the West Coast and they lived near San Francisco. Was that Avengers versus X-Men? Was that before or after? I can't remember. Continuity sucks.
Where was the Phoenix Force at this moment in time?
Is Jean Grey dead or alive? But Schism happened. Cyclops took half the team. Wolverine took half the team. And Magneto was with Cyclops' half. And Magneto and Cyclops had a really interesting dynamic. Like, they really work well together in terms of operation. And Cyclops is leaning more into, maybe Magneto was right about certain aspects. Maybe
Cyclops is always good at following orders. That's the thing. He's never been one with emotions or like
big nerd.
Yeah.
but there's a very, not to segue too much into Cyclops, there's a very interesting reason for that. Cyclops is very controlled about his emotions because it's tied into his powers. Because his powers activated when he was young, when his family were on like a little airplane and it was being chased by the Shia, of course, and they were crash landing and their parents chucked him and his little brother Havoc out with there's one parachute, and he got brain damage in the fall. And that is why Cyclops can't control his powers because of the brain damage from his young childhood. And because he can't control his powers, that's kind of like an extension of him being in control emotionally, being in control, being straight-laced, quite uptight. It's so he can always maintain that control. And so Cyclops is an honorary mention because he gets a lot of shit that he does not deserve.
By me.
I get that.
I get why people don't like him. I get why people don't like him, but as a long-term X-Men reader, there's actual reasons.
Yeah.
There's reasons why he's a bit of an uptight jerk.
Yeah.
There's reasons he's got to stick up there.
I love the idea. I love that. There's two things I wanted to say. The scene in, just to go to the movies, because again, I'm not an X-Men reader, but the scene where they show Eric, it breaking out of the Hulk, like of the concentration camp. Yeah. Oh my good God, that fucking scene is just amazing. I absolutely loved it. But I also love the comparison. Again, sorry to get on my political soapbox here, but the comparison of Magneto and Charles Xavier being, the Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, with their ideal, their path is the same, but the way that they take it is completely different. Yeah. And I fucking love that analogy of them two. It's one thing I remember when I heard it, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And this is why I am always like, when people are like, oh, well, why have comics suddenly become political? I'm just like,
they've always been political.
But that's the thing, though. Even like Goodwill and Graham were talking on the Trek podcast the other thing. It's like people who don't say they like Trek, but then they say they're not bigot. Like they say they don't like homosexuals or they don't like stuff like that. It's like, how can you say you like Trek if you're against them type of views? It just goes in hand because that like a lot of movies and stuff skirt around, but comics didn't. Comics got a way around it because they weren't basically as governed?
That was probably the best one. The radar in the sense that it was it's just comics, it's just for kids.
Yes,
it's very kind of much like brushed to the side.
But no, but a lot of people got
Kids
the...
aren't going to understand that. Look at the
Yes.
pictures.
But-
Look at the colours.
To go back to
Shiny.
the to go back to the movies, I do think Magneto is one of the characters who does get the stronger representation.
Oh,
Ian
massively.
McKellen as Magneto is just phenomenal.
It is proper
Perfect, 'cause
chef's
he's-
kiss
Where he's in
moment.
that plastic prison
Yeah.
and he's just like, you got a bit too much iron in your blood today. Oh, he's fantastic.
That's what's perfect about like Magneto, because like in the comics, he's pretty buff and sexy for an old
Yeah.
man. But you can do a frail version of him because he doesn't actually need to do anything like physical.
No.
Like he's all
it's
powers.
yeah.
He's all
It's all
mega
controlled
level
with the-
mutant powers or whatever.
But to be fair, though, he does have a good seed as well, because he births one of
Yeah.
the most powerful mutants ever came out in Wanda.
Yes, that's
That was
true.
a mistake when you think about it.
Although
no
they
more
keep on
mutants, Wanda.
retconning. They do keep on retconning that Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver aren't his children, but I do
Yeah.
think that's a
Haven't
mistake.
they just done the death of Scarlet Witch?
Yeah.
And I started reading
Are they
it.
back to being their kids? I've actually
I
fallen off
think
a little bit. I can't remember.
because he comes at the beginning of the comic is the Scarlet Witch is dead. And then Magneto comes to mourn his child, and oh, guess what? She's not dead.
Of course,
They
she's
can
not.
never
Wanda.
decide if they want it to be magic or mutant powers, and it's
Yeah.
like, can you just
It's
make
one
a
of
choice, please?
One
Because
of
we
us.
don't mind.
yeah, one or the other. I'm not bothered. I'd rather it be magic than mutant, just because of how
would you?
fucking powerful she is.
I'd rather it be mutant, but
Yeah.
Oh,
Has there been a thing recently where, because I've read something about this the other day, about Xavier has now basically took the Magneto route of just abandoning humanity and going onto the side
Kind of.
He always does that.
he's had his
yeah.
moments where he's done
The
it throughout.
mutants-
Because
Have been
it's like
living on
Magneto's that right that even his arch nemesis
it's like
goes
he's
over
got
to
some
that
point.
side as well.
The mutants have been living on Krakoa for quite a while and sealed off. They can only reach the rest of the world by teleporting gates. But that's going to change with the next event, probably.
Yeah, I think the next event's coming soon. But yeah,
Yeah.
so Magneto, very good pick. So Lee,
Nice.
number 3.
Right. My next pick. I am the law.
I am the law.
I think you've got a Judge Dredd badge in your case there. Can I spot that?
Yeah, it's there. I am a
I
fan
thought
of
you did, yeah.
I am a fan of Dredd. Can we call the Stallone version Dredd? But
Oh my god, yeah, just like, I am the law.
no, but he took his mask off. He's never taken
Yeah.
his mask
Oh
off.
no, Stallone was not Dredd. No.
Oh, see,
Um,
that's the only incarnation I know, so you're gonna have to educate us.
Oh well,
Yeah,
you
me and
have to
Samuel
watch the
take a
Carl
back
Urban
seat.
version as well. The Carl Urban version is amazing,
Mhm.
Mhm.
but
Okay, I've
the
seen that one.
comics,
Yeah.
the comics run in real time as well.
Mhm.
So what they came out in, I've wrote it down somewhere. 2000. Oh,
Paper
no.
notes.
Well, it was set in 2099. It came out 38 years ago. I know he was 38-year-old in the first issue, and he's now 84. So however long that is, I mean, maths isn't on par at the
right.
moment.
So it's kind of like it's been ongoing in real time.
Yeah, so every year that passes in real life, a year passes in the comic. So now we've got an
Oh.
84-year-old Judge Dredd running around fighting
So
villains.
now we have Stallone if he did Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stallone's in his 70s, so not. I'm not letting you diss into Stallone that way. He was great in Tulsa
He's
King.
fantastic.
Um,
I love him.
But yeah, let's have a think. Is this? No, I was going to say this is the first British one that's been mentioned. No, because I mentioned V for Vendetta. 2000 AD, wasn't it? That did the comics.
Yeah, 2000 AD.
One of the most dirty, brutal, just horrible comics you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Anything
it's
that you
Ooh,
can,
Jake.
anything that you can think of, like any crime, like rape, murder, child molestation, this was in Judge Dredd, and
Okay.
it's not a nice thing to read, but it is entertaining. Is it the Angel Family? Was one of my favourites.
Oh, yeah.
With Mean, which was quite comic good in the Stallone version. But like I say, you had characters like Judge Death, and like Dredd himself was
the four judges of the apocalypse.
Lord Judge of the
It's like
Oh my god,
Judge
that's
Death, Judge
amazing.
Pestilence, Judge Fear.
That's
It sounds
awesome.
like everyone's like first metal band in like
Yeah.
school, like the kind of things you would come up with.
there has
Yes.
been a few metal bands basically created because of Judge Dredd or the other character that was Slade as well at the time. I think that was made, but I read it a little bit when I was younger. One of Nick's best friends, Heather, her future husband, he has basically the Ultimate Dread collection. He's got like all issues of the comic. Black and white comics like The Walking Dead as well. Very few color issues. There has been a few crossovers as well. You can get Batman versus Judge Dredd. I believe. I think there was a Spawn crossover at one point.
I think the Batman thing crossed over into 2000 AD, but then crossed back over into the DC comics.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Judge Dredd beat him in the 2000 AD comics, and then went over and Batman beat him in DC.
Yeah.
But just so uncompromising. That's probably the best word I can read.
What's the gist of it? Because I literally have only seen the movies, but I still don't really
Yeah, same
understand
here.
what the gist is.
The Carl Urban one is as close as you can get.
Yeah.
It's
I
basically
really enjoyed that.
It's basically in the life of a judge.
Yeah, Judge Dredd.
What do the judges do though? Like
basically,
So it's like a dystopian,
Yeah.
dystopian future. The
Mhm.
world has been annihilated by nuclear war, and the parts that haven't really got too much radiation have been compacted into mega cities with like a box, and it's like skyscrapers that hold like 100,000 people in one building.
Yeah,
and nobody's got any work because there's robots have taken everybody's jobs.
God.
And then the judges have been appointed as judge, jury, and executioner to just go out wherever they get a call and just kick ass.
I'd love that job.
But some of the some of the best equipment as well. Like you think Batman gets the best toys, but the Judge Dredd's like the lawgiver, the gun that is DNA recognized to them, and just by, as you said, they can fire grenades, rapid fire. Like it literally is, like if you're a weapons guy, it's basically a wet dream like to read because it's so like there's no chill. That's the only best I think. It's like when you're reading it, it's like the worst possible scenario can happen, will happen, and the judges will deal with it. And Judge Dredd is the one who has no empathy and no emotion, and that's what you expect from your hero. And he's like, this is the scenario. You fucked up. You either die or go to jail. And the bad guys, some of them are doing it just to survive, but the judges don't see it that way. So it is like just best way I can describe it is just lawless brutality.
Yeah, but like how does the story progress with a character with no empathy? Is it literally just like a new situation every issue?
Yeah.
Or does he have like
Pretty
growth
much.
or anything?
Characters do grow a little bit. Like you say, he does start to care in some aspects, but then they ramp up with the villains. So
he has to cut himself back off again.
So they ramp it up. Like I said, Judge Death is just basically this like kind of like zombified ghost monster that is Judge, and that's like thing. But when he comes up against the Angel family, like in the comics, like it's just them cracking jokes about eating people and stuff like that. Yes, Sam, there's cannibalism in it as well.
I was gonna say, I'm sure they're named ironically.
But
there's even an arc where he goes to work on the moon for a while. Like there's a moon colony and he gets sent up there for a year just to
I'm gonna kill the
judge
moon.
up there. But no, he's based on Dirty Harry.
Okay.
And he like takes some influence from Death Race 2000. There was Frankenstein, David Carradine's character, which is like leather, and he's got like a he's pretty much got a Judge Dredd helmet.
So if you've seen Death Proof, like the idea, I think the idea of that comes to Kurt Russell's character as well. There's like something in there.
Snake Plissken is it? Yeah.
Well, no.
He sounds like the Doom guy as well, like you know from the video game Doom. Like he sounds like he's that character also.
I get the Dirty Harry aspect, and that is literally just going off the Carl Urban look.
It's
not
very
the
much
Stallone one.
Yeah, it's very much a cult following. Like that's probably it's probably if you think about like cult comic books, Dread is probably up there with one of the biggest cults.
Oh yeah, but
Absolutely.
I've seen it everywhere. I've just like never engaged with it. But yeah, I knew it
Me
was
neither.
like I knew the comic company and stuff.
Yeah, I've never really engaged with it either, but it is something that people have followed like since their childhood.
Yeah.
Like it's really a comic that people like grow up with and continue on. Like I know people who've been buying it for years. It's been on their pull list for years and years and years and years.
That's cool. I like that.
And I love the comic size, and the look of the comic isn't standard. It's like larger than the normal ones.
Is it
as
tall?
well.
I mean, okay, so technically that's our standard. That's like British comic standard. So it's like the size of a Beano or a Dandy. That's quite a normal.
So it's like a magazine
UK size. Yeah, and like American comics are like a smaller format, but that is it is a correct in terms of British format.
From one of my oldest friends for my 30th birthday, I got a Marvel UK comic book. So when Marvel used to print in the UK, and I got that from July 1983 for my 30th birthday. And it's just it's tall, but it's newspaper. It's simply just newspaper, but it is one of my prized possessions. It like the year and month I was born, and it's Marvel, and it's got Dazzler on the front, and I'm not even an X-Men fan, but I fucking love it.
I have an issue of Captain Britain from like the week I was born.
Oh, that's amazing. Really cool. That's a fun idea. Try and get something from when you were born.
Very good.
I really love that one, Lee.
So Sammy.
Oh, me.
Yes.
Me. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna get it out of the way with, because I think you probably all know she's coming.
Is it Carol by any chance?
Carol.
Is it named after my mother? Yes, it is.
Hi, Sammy's mom.
Yes. It is my ultimate, will always forever be my favorite comic book character, not movie character. Comic book character is Carol Danvers, and it comes from Kelly Sue DeConnick's run in help me out, Lauren, 2015,
2014, 20 yeah.
In a time a long ago.
Yeah, 2014ish. I think
was this like
before.
Was this titled like?
It's Higher, Further, Faster. It's where a lot of the tags for the movie came from Kelly Sue, because Kelly Sue was a consultant. She's actually in the movie as well. You can see her. She consulted on the movie as well, because her run literally changed the face of Carol Danvers. Ms. Marvel, as she was once known, was your typical leotard wearing superhero, actually swim costume, to be honest, black, Bolton stripe, big blonde hair, and Kelly Sue went, no, I'm going to change it. She's going to get an upgrade. She's going to go from Ms. Marvel to Captain Marvel. She's also going to actually wear clothes. She's going to actually have a bit more of a figure, and not just tits, basically.
Yeah.
She's going to have something to it, and she completely revolutionized this character, to where it sparked a movement.
Yeah.
Like definitely. The Carol Corps became a thing. I was part of it. I was living in it, and I never wanted it to end. It was such a great time in comics.
It really was. It was 2014 as well.
Yeah, was it? Oh, thank you. But I think this is around the time me and Lauren became internet friends, was due to this.
Definitely.
Comics friends.
Comic friends.
I mean, women and girls have always read comics since there have been comics. That's no secret. But it did become in the golden age, there were so many comics aimed at girls and women. But somewhere in I want to say most of the 80s, where everything kind of became quite a big male power fantasy.
Yeah.
It did become a bit of a boys' club. And it's like, you don't, what do you know? You're a girl, what do you know? Kind of thing. And
name 3 X-Men.
Yeah. And
them memes cause me so much shit in the group.
Yeah, the ones about t-shirts. Like,
oh god,
name 3 songs.
But yeah, and with the Captain Marvel thing was about the same time that a whole bunch of other female characters were being like refreshed or re-energized, like Batgirl, for instance.
Batgirl, Barbara Gordon was the
Yeah.
same time.
And it really kind of helped. It helped women who were already in comics.
Yeah.
Like be like, yay, I see this. I can see this. I could read this, but it also like opened the door for people who didn't realize that it was more than Frank Castle, big guns,
Yeah.
belt pouches.
And
there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to read, because I've read many Punisher runs that I've enjoyed, but you don't. Not everybody wants to read that, and
no,
it
felt that we had a seat at the table now.
Yeah.
Especially the way that these characters were being written. It
Mhm.
wasn't just about, oh, they've got a love interest and everything's going all tits
Right.
up and no, they've got to go and save the world at the same time.
And
it wasn't about that.
I'm not gonna lie, I really like being able to, like, when a family comes in and there's a girl in the family or even a boy, and they're like, oh, I want to read, Captain Marvel or something. It's really nice to be able to show them a book like that where she's not half naked and she's not got her tits hanging out, her ass hanging out. And I could show something. And that's fine. But if I'm recommending
I'm only joking.
comics,
Sorry.
there is kind of a place for cheesecake. I'm not going to say there's not, but when we're trying to, there should be different takes for different people, different takes.
Yeah.
That children can read and understand that, oh, the girl can see it and be like, that's cool, she's really powerful, but the boy can also read it and see that's cool, that's really powerful. And not see a hypersexualized version of a character.
Yeah.
Or a male power
agree.
fantasy version of a character either, because the super overly jacked men are just slightly unhealthy as well. So
Rob Layfield.
For me,
What?
she came at a time when I just started working for Nerdfeed, and it was male dominated. I think I was the only girl in there, and I just started doing movie reviews, and then I moved on to comic book reviews, and it was at that time I had me very misfortunate incident at Forbidden Planet, and it was just, there was a lot of shit going on where I was like realizing like, oh, hang on a minute, maybe I am a little bit out of my depth here. And you, or maybe Laura, I'd recommend, or Joe, actually, I'm trying to think of the guys back in that day.
The triad.
Who recommended a documentary called She Makes Comics. And that's where everything started to fit into place. And Carol was probably the catalyst of it all, because while I'm going through all of these little changes and these like noticing things and things that I've not experienced before, because my life before reading comic books was music. I went to gigs. My life just revolved around music. I wasn't aware of this other world where I had to kind of feel like I was on the defense all the time. And watching that documentary and getting to hear Kelly Sue's voice for the first time really put a voice to Carol for us while I was reading it. And Kelly is and will always be my favorite comic book writer. I have wrote countless amount of articles about this woman. One that she's actually read and she messaged me about, which was amazing because it fell at the same time I did my BBC interview for about Captain Marvel. It just all came and then the film came out, and it was just great. It was a great time. But yeah, Carol is she's very special in so many ways. She will always be my forever favorite.
Cool. Very nice. Jakey?
No, moving on. I do like. I do also like Captain Marvel.
Thank you.
When she crosses over with the Guardians. I think I was reading more about the Guardians around that time.
Yeah, I learned a lot about the Guardians through Carol.
Yeah,
and
same.
Quill's parentage and shit like that. It was a good time.
Yeah. Okay. Mine is gonna go to a whole different country than the ones we've been talking about. Technically a comic book, not written in English to start with, but my third pick is Goku. Son Goku
That's
himself.
my second pick.
That's my
hell
yeah.
We've got a joint.
I'm gonna join to first one.
Yeah. Manga are in fact comic books.
Not
so
just
this is gonna
not
be...
just hentai.
No.
So this
and
is
the interest
Jake's third and Lee's fourth pick.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about comic manga and anime is that whereas we tend to get comic book adaptations, like anime is usually a shot for shot kind of remake of the actual original manga, which I think like some more American comic people should give a go to that kind of thing, because I think that would make the fans happy. Where do I start with Goku? He's basically Superman.
I was gonna say, who can Goku fight? Who can he beat?
No. No, when I say he's basically Superman, I mean his origin story is literally Superman's origin story, as in he comes from the planet Vegeta, sent down in a pod before it exploded. He crash lands on Earth. Technically, he's designed to destroy Earth. Like he's sent there as a kind of biological weapon. Like he'll grow up to be way stronger than all the humans, and he'll murder everyone because the gravity's not as strong here. He takes a tumble, bonks his head, gets sort of changed, I guess, to like a nice boy. He gets raised by like a martial arts master. He goes on magical adventures, making wishes with Dragon Balls. It then takes a hard sci-fi, well, not a hard sci-fi turn. It always had some elements, but it gets to like what we call like the Z era, where then you get revealed, because they basically spent years with this secret about his origin, and then eventually they just dropped it all, and it's like, holy shit, your brothers just came down from space. You've died trying to fight him off. He's now telling you that 2 more Saiyans are going to come, and everyone on Earth's got like a year to train up. So like you get this cool like ticking clock thing, but Goku in his like base form he's the shining beacon. He's like good. He likes to fight, like he likes a good challenge, which is always fun. But he's like the guy you can always rely on. Like a lot of the storylines revolve around like biding time, waiting for Goku to show up, like all of his friends
he likes
dying.
to eat too.
Yeah, if he has to like recharge. But he's always going to be there for you. And I think as a kid, that was like, it was like nice to have a character where it's like, yeah, like Goku will always save you.
Yeah.
But no, he is basically Superman, and obviously he's taken a lot of power creep levels as anime characters do, and now he's kind of like at a god type of level with Vegeta. But no, he's just.
I don't think Goku's a hero though.
Do you
like?
Oh,
because
at least taking a hot take now.
Right. So obviously, like superheroes would be like, "Oh, this is the right thing to do. I need to go and help these people." Goku is just an idiot. He goes, "Oh, that guy's strong. I need to go and fight him." There's no.
He doesn't actually save people.
Is he doing the right thing?
He doesn't physically lift up and save people very often, but he has done it on occasion. But no, yeah, he's definitely more of like a direct action. Like, if this man wants to fight, I'll take him away from civilization and I'll beat him. Mm-hmm. Like, the planet might explode, but he's not going to blow the planet up. There's been. Sorry, yeah.
No. I was going to say. So because with this being a joint pick as well. So why is this on Lee's list?
Yeah.
Pretty much the same reasons. Like Goku, I think he's one of the standards for like power that every other comic book gets put against. Like especially Superman. It's always like, oh, who could beat Superman? Oh, no one could. Well, Goku could. And that's probably the biggest one up there.
Well, that's such a good answer.
Everyone gets pitted against Goku or Superman or both.
Is Goku magic, is he? Or
no,
technically,
no, he's not.
Yes.
But
I would say his power is spiritual, yeah. Does that count as magic? Chi.
And his mates always get the shit kicked out of them all the time by whatever villain shows up. And it's always like, oh no, when's Goku going to arrive? And you're just sitting waiting for Goku to finally show up.
Yeah.
And he's not always, I don't think he's ever fought anyone that he's stronger than either. It's always he's the underdog. And he's got to rise to the occasion and push past his own limits, which is a very inspirational thing again. And he pretty much always succeeds, apart from when his son has to step in, which the writer decided that was a bad idea and then went back on himself. And yeah, Goku is pretty much, well, Dragon Ball is just my Goonies.
He's got he's got transformations as well. We didn't say that. He can go golden, which is amazing. He starts out with black hair, then he gets golden. then
We've
more
got every
lightning.
variation sitting in that back bedroom.
Yeah,
See,
you can go
see,
blue.
you all know my husband. Absolutely, yeah. My husband's
It's
already
the
seen Lee's
spectrum.
collection, so
It's the literal rainbow of Goku.
yeah, we've
But, like,
got variations in there.
Like Lee says, it's like it's very much like a build up and release type of entertainment. That's like the kind of anime that I go for, where you spend a long time waiting for something cool to happen, and then when it does, it's like a massive payoff. But some people get turned off by that like wait time.
I tell you what, you two need to come to my house for a games night. We have Dragon Ball Cluedo, and we tried to play it at New Year, and I got fucking Clue.
It was Frieza.
There's an invite. Come round my house for a games night, used to.
Yeah,
because
you'll understand it. I haven't got an absolute clue, so I'm like trying to like get on board, like, you know, be enthusiastic about something I don't understand.
And as a young vegetarian, everyone's named after vegetables, and that was very comforting to me.
There's a lot of humor in it as well, which I don't think many
fun.
comics, like superhero comics, don't go into the humor side a lot. Like, it's always very serious, like, oh, the bad guy, we need to beat him. But
or it's like Deadpool, where it's like all humor, like constantly.
It's kind of like in the middle somewhere.
Yeah,
like it's serious, but Goku's just a bumbling idiot.
It did start off a bit like a child's comic, because basically you've watched Goku grow up from a child. Like, he was always like, you know, an alien, so a special child, and he had a tail like a monkey, because I guess they're kind of like half monkey people. But yeah, you've seen an entire growth, but he's always kind of stayed constant. It's not like the kind of thing where like he's like all grizzled and angry now. He's always stayed like happy-go-lucky and like a good guy. Just likes to fight, likes to eat, and like, who can't aspire to that?
Sounds like me. To fight, likes to eat.
Also, fun fact: May the 9th is Goku Day, which is
May
one day
9th.
after the Appreciation Day.
Yeah, it's a good week.
Which I hate that day.
No, you don't. You loved it. I remember that.
Very cool.
You loved it.
So yeah, I've opened the forbidden door of the manga.
Oh, that's fine. So that kind of leads in quite nicely to mine. Not manga style, but you're saying Goku is at a certain level of power-wise. Now, I haven't picked the character in general, because, like I say, I've slated this character so much in the previous podcasts because he is so unrelatable. But in this one story arc, he becomes very relatable, and I think the comic book, again, it's another four-parter, was, well, if it's not the best written, it's definitely the best illustrated, because it's by Alex Ross. Kingdom Comes Superman. So it's not the normal happy-go-lucky, full of hope Superman. It's the jaded, again, the giving up on humanity Superman. He's no longer wearing like the yellow and red. He's now wearing the red and black. He's turned now where he's kind of like turned the story is the Joker, the bastard, let loose some toxins from in the Daily Planet, killing Lois Lane, and Batman and Superman arrests the Joker as he does, and he takes him to court. But instead of getting imprisoned, a new superhero called, I'm going to try and get the name up now, Magog came up, and he was wearing some kind of ram's head, like he's a new superhero, and he kills the Joker, and he gets arrested and takes the trial, and they actually acquit him on the fact that they say that he did the world good by killing the Joker. So the Superman couldn't live with that, like say, in a world where he thought there was that much injustice. And again, then it's set in the future where Superman's now a farmer, he's given up, and I think Wonder Woman brings him back because the superheroes are kind of running the show. They're just like running around lawlessly, doing what they want, and no one can stop them. So Superman comes back to run, basically to govern the world, and it's such an interesting take on the character where he's based on hope, and it's not. He's just based on justice now, to the point where like Batman kind of turns on him, but it's what's coming is like the end of the world type thing. So it's kind of like watching it and seeing it how it plays out. But like that version of Superman is just absolutely. It give it a new dimension, because as I've said, when you read Superman comics, it's hard to feel relatable to him because he's the ultimate powerhouse. There's nothing can stop him other than magic and a green rock. And Batman, of course, Batman always beats Superman. But seeing that dark, bleak version of him just was like something I've never read before, and I will always go back to and read over again. I don't know if anyone else has read it.
I have not. No, it's one of those ones where I've got it sitting there. It's in our collection, but it's just every time I go to pick it up, I just find something else to do.
Yeah.
And I'm terrible for that when it comes to reading.
I know exactly the one
have
you
read
mean.
it. Alex Ross.
Sorry. Art is beautiful. But
it's stunning.
It's one of those which is like it's always going to be there. So I'm just like,
yeah, exactly. I can get it anytime.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I did read it, but I didn't get it. Like, and I think I might have just been not in the right headspace or not knowing what to expect. Because again, it was just another one where everyone's like, you got to read Kingdom Come, you got to read Killing Joke, you got to read but they don't like always tell you why, if you know what I mean, or like what you're going to expect or like what you should expect. Maybe it's just I'm not that into like bleak future unless I'm like prepared for it type of thing. But I'll definitely go back and check it out again. After like hearing what you've said about it, like I did remember like thinking the art was weird because it's like realistic. It's like photorealism, isn't it? Like for the most part,
every panel's like a masterpiece. Like when you're looking, like you think about how long it must have took to like piece these together and stuff. But just the whole tonal shift, as you said, when you read Superman comics when you're younger, it's all about like truth, justice, and the American way, doing everything right and thing. And just seeing that tonal shift was just like you kind of like reading it on a slant and saying, huh. Yeah. And even getting so dark where Batman thinks this is too far. So
when Batman thinks it's too far, it's been taken too far.
You've done messed up.
I do quite like when they trade on like Superman's like he is an alien at the end of the day, which depending on how he's feeling can be like isolating. I do like when they kind of explore some of that. I think like you're right about the relatability because usually they'll go for like, oh, we'll just reboot young Superman and he's slightly powered down and he's got like, you know, normal problems and stuff. So it's interesting to see it taken completely the other way where it's like, this is old Superman. He's not going to be, he's going to somehow get more relatable because he's now jaded.
Yes. And he's lost. And like, see, he's lost so much. And it's like seeing him reacting and changing to that loss as well.
Yeah. It's interesting as well because, you know, in that like that Injustice storyline, which has had some comics and video games, that's the catalyst for him going bad is like, Joker kills Lois, but then Clark kills the Joker, and I guess it's like they probably just copied off the Kingdom Come thing, and we're like, but what if Superman went evil? Which has been done.
Superman broke bad.
I'm sure there is a live action of the Kingdom Come Superman in the Arrowverse. I'm sure Brandon Superman.
Brandon Roth, in the multiverse, he showed like a different version, but it didn't go full hog.
It was still like a similar outfit.
It's still a light-hearted show, isn't it?
It was still similar, like the story of losing Lois and everything as well. But he wore the outfit, which was amazing. But he wasn't like jaded. He was still Superman. He was still doing the right things. He just was. His symbol was different. That's all.
Yeah.
But Brandon Roth was a good Superman. That was I think he was just.
It was. I just don't think it was a good script for that film.
No. Yes. It's cool.
Very good choice. Now we're on to round 4 where Lee misses a turn.
Yeah.
So back to Lauren.
Okay. I am gonna go with my list has changed 2 or 3 times since I've come we started this. So I am gonna go with this character before I take them off the list and replace them with somebody else again. because I'm on a real renaissance with this character and this series in general since a certain Netflix series dropped a few months ago. This is the first really non-superhero comic I read as a teenager, and it is, oh, you could say she's Peachy Keen, and she is Death of the Endless. I really love Sandman. As I was a proper little goth teenager. I was a goth with a GOFF. And Sandman,
that's me now.
Yeah,
actually, it's been me since
Sandman.
I was 16.
I don't know if you guys have, if you've all read Sandman, but it is.
Yeah,
I am
just watched.
I have not read it, but I am audiobooking it.
You need. Okay, I'm sure the audiobook is fantastic, but
It's amazing.
I do recommend reading it because the art it's like from the 80s, so some of it's a tiny bit dated. But
having James McAvoy as Death
that sounds
is
so relaxing.
Oh my god,
That's true.
It's unreal. The whole
it's Kat
cast, to be
Dennings'
honest.
Death.
No, who am I thinking of? Dream. Sorry, Dream.
Yeah.
James McAvoy is Dream. Holy shit, is amazing.
But I just love Death. I love her approach, her gentleness, and not to get into like theological discussions of what exists after, but the thought of somebody like Death coming to meet you and guide you on is actually really, really comforting in a way.
Yeah.
And the sound of her wings is like the best episode of the series.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe Death, the Dream with 1,000 Cats, but I have cats, so I welcome our cat overlords. If they're fine, they can do it. I support them.
I agreed with that. Like that was a standout episode for me, having not any past knowledge or anything of what was coming. So yeah,
the casting for Death caused a lot of controversy, which I think was completely unwarranted because she was perfect. She really brought that gentleness, that warmth. Because she's meant to be such an antithesis to her brother Dream, who is this emo
bastard
shitbag. Dream is perky. She's not the oldest of the Endless, but anybody who doesn't know, in the Sandman universe, which is connected to the DC universe, it's kind of governed by 7 siblings who are the kind of constructs of aspects of humanity. So you have Destiny, who is the eldest, and he has his book. So he knows everything that has been, is, and ever will be. Then there is Death, and she is literally like an embodiment of the Grim Reaper. She ushers people from living to death. But in the comic, she's portrayed as this kind of perky goth girl. But you do get the perception that she just looks like that because that's what the reader should be seeing. She looks as to who she meets like they would see her. So she is going to be viewed differently by everybody.
Yeah, to be comforting in the last moments. Yeah.
And the Sandman comic is, the Sandman is Morpheus, who is Dream, and he is like the Lord of Dreams, and he gets captured and locked away, and that's why he's a bit of an emo twat. But he's just been making bad decisions since like the Grecian era. And then their youngest siblings are the twins, Despair and Desire. Then there's Destruction, who is missing, and poor little Delirium, who used to be Delight, but something terrible happened to her, so now she's Delirium. I can't wait for her in
season 2.
Season 2. But Death has always just been like, I just connect to that character because she is.
There's something quite comforting in the character, I think. Yeah, that's probably the best way I can put like a character that feels like putting on a warm blanket.
Yeah, she's very kind of motherly or big sisterly. Like you'd want her to be your big sister. Like she kicks Dream up the ass, but she's never like mean about it.
No,
she's never kind of belittling or teasing like Desire always is.
Yeah,
she is comfort. She is comfort, and I just
sometimes you need a bit of comfort. So yeah.
But there's still like an inevitability of like, oh, but you can't go back. Like I might be being nice, but like it's time. So it's like I did love like that sort of idea of a character concept. Yeah.
Absolutely.
No bargaining with death. It is inevitable, but yes. No, very good. I'm glad the Sandman did get a
Amazing.
shout as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
me too. Me too. It was such an amazing pick.
I looked at buying it, but it's expensive.
I've got it on
but-
Audible, Jake.
Yeah, true.
I've
I could
gotten the
audio
first
it.
two. My mum listened to it on holiday last year, and she absolutely adored it. She didn't get the DC tie-ins. Bless her heart. Kept having to ask us questions. I was like, yeah, I've not read this. I don't know. But she is such a fan because I think the Audible really like brought it to life to her. She would never have picked up the graphic novel ever.
Some
Such
of
a
the
brilliant choice.
art's very trippy, but very beautiful. And
I wanna look
there's
at
a
that
lot
art.
of
I have the first issue in
Yeah.
German.
there's a lot of tie-ins to like Greek myths
Mm.
and ancient religion and Shakespeare, and it's very varied and very. There's just so much to it. It's fascinating. It's Neil Gaiman at some of his best.
Very
Yeah.
best, but yes. So good
Agreed.
pick there. So Sammy picked number 4.
Yeah, pick number 4. So I'm going with this is not so much this is probably something like what you've done, Paul. It's not so much like the character, more the actual like this part of his comic book journey and the writer that comes with him. It's the Almighty Thor, and it is Jason.
You can fuck off if it's Love and Thunder. I'm going home.
Oh, good God, no.
That's not a
is
comic book.
how it. Well,
I've been
it's
drinking that
it's
one.
It's
it's
poison.
actually it's Jason Aaron's run who is wrote Thor for many years. He is the reason you have Jane Foster as Lady Thor. He is the creator of Gore, the
God Butcher.
help me, Lauren. The
God Butcher.
Yes, the God Butcher is one of the greatest ever Thor comic books.
Yes.
I thought you would
Ever
have
written.
went. I thought you would have went with Jane. To be fair, but
Only because I was teetering tottering around it. But when it comes down to Jason Aaron, I'm going straight to Thor.
Yeah.
And don't get us wrong,
did he wear tiny pants in this run? Did he?
He did not.
Well,
No,
he was
did not.
shirtless a lot.
A lot, but he has so many struggles in this. Thor's not all as mighty as what we all may think he is. He is very broken to the point where he does end up losing Mjolnir.
You said it well. Don't worry.
Thank you. And this is where it lands on the doorstep of the new Thor, which just turns out to be a woman, and this entire run of this person who has managed to it's not that he was worthy, but there was something else stopping him. It was a really good way of
It's like he had a psychological barrier.
It's the Hammer wasn't saying you're not worthy, you just need to go and take care of yourself kind of thing. You don't need this right now. We can give it to someone else. Yes. And this whole it was absolutely brilliant. And then all of a sudden, big twist, it turns out that it's Jane Foster, and Jane Foster is dying of cancer. And while she is Lady Thor, she no longer has cancer. So she kind of like, it's whether does she, again, is she going to go and look after herself? Like it, and that scene in Love and Thunder where she's standing in front of the mirror, that is taken directly out of the panel from when you get the reveal that is Jane Foster.
The problem was when she was transforming, she was effectively pushing the chemo drugs out of her body. So when she would transform back to being Jane, she would just be even sicker because the chemo was all gone from her system.
Yeah.
And I do think it's a fantastic run because it wasn't like when a hero dies and they get replaced and then they just come back at the end. There was this broken Thor and you saw him piece himself back together. And it's a very good series.
It's so good. And the writing style of Jason Aaron when it comes to Thor is spectacular because it's very ye olde English style writing.
Thor needs his own like text bubbles that are different from everyone else's.
Yes, he does. There was 3 people I could have chosen out of this kind of era. Thor, Lady Thor, or Beta Ray Bill. I have such a soft spot for Beta Ray Bill. He is just I love. There was a run that he just recently had, and it
He
was
was in comics.
heartbreaking.
He was around.
Yeah.
No, he lost Stormbreaker. He had to go and find Stormbreaker. It was just, and it wasn't all about Stormbreaker. It was so good. But I went with Thor just because of how brilliant Jason Aaron can write that Thor character. It's nothing like what. Actually, it's what you want to see Thor as.
Thor giving some depth rather than just being like the meathead, bleach blonde, which he is portrayed in a lot of type of aspects in the comics. But to be fair, in the comics as well, Thor had like a lot of shit done to him. Like you think of a lot of heroes, like kind of live like just be heroes. Like you say, he died a few times. Like he was cloned. There was loads of different variations. Like say when you go through the history of Thor, it's not as
I was confused for a long time because my first exposure to Thor was like the man who transforms into Thor. You know, like who isn't actually the real Thor. But I think he's the one in Infinity Gauntlet, technically.
Yes.
But I must have read like a comic as a kid.
He's kind of like a replacement Thor, isn't he?
Yeah.
But I just thought like, oh yeah, you know, the hammer transforms him. It's like He-Man. Like that was.
Well, the hammer transforms him into his kind of like Viking get up, like his Asgardian look.
In the original, like the early comics, he did think he was this doctor, and he was sick, so he went to a cave and he found Mia, and he transformed. But it was like he was never actually the doctor. He just had forgotten he was Thor, kind of thing. And that's like where the amnesia came from in the film. Something like that anyway. It's like
I remember that. But yeah, it's if you want to read a good Thor comic,
that's the one.
The God Butcher by Jason Aaron. I cannot recommend
you kind
that
of
enough.
have to follow it through into the Jane Thor stuff, though. You have to start like the God Butcher and follow it.
Once you start though, you'll not want to stop because it is so bloody good. There was one of the disappointing things when Cap picked up the Mjolnir. I thought he would transform into Asgardian wear. And I was like, I was waiting for it, and then it's like, oh, okay, wings. I get it, that's fine. I just thought like
if he got his wings back. Oh,
some form of like,
wings in his helmet.
But, I'm gonna. So I had to pick Thor.
Cool.
I didn't have to, but I did.
Yes.
That's my number 4 choice.
Number 4 for Jake.
Okay. I'm going jump into a different comics company. I'm not sure if we've actually we would have touched on these slightly. But Invincible, Amazon's own Invincible.
Yes.
Again, that's another Kirkman joint. I guess I just really like his crazy escalation style writing. Because this is very similar in Walking Dead, as in like the story just keeps on ratcheting forever. But if anyone doesn't know, it's basically like an entire new universe of superheroes that are like, a lot of them are like jokey versions of like real superheroes, or in kind of an X-Men vein, people with like really inconvenient powers that they've actually written around to be like, well, this is useful actually. Like, even though it sounds like it would be like horrible. But yeah, so like the actual title character Invincible is the one I'm picking. But if anyone doesn't know, it's like his dad is basically Superman. Through the course of the comics, like you get to see his growth into his powers, which I always like enjoy. It's also like the talk about it in practical terms, because obviously his dad's like, I've got to show him the ropes. He's gonna start being able to like jump over buildings, and like so he has to like explain like basically a Superman power set like in actual practical terms where you can understand. Which is interesting, because obviously when you're a kid, you're like, I don't know, Superman just flies around. Like you don't think about it. And like he asks his dad at some point, he's like, oh, so like we can breathe in space. And he's like, oh no, you just got to hold your breath like to fly through space to like other planets. And because obviously he's like a Viltrumite or something, I think they're called. He can hold his breath way longer than normal. But it's just like, it's awesome just to think about like, oh, like all these powers come with like realities. Like, And it's quite violent in that, you know, like in a way that
So
superheroes would
violent.
be, because you would, if you're that superpowered, you would accidentally rip things apart a lot. Then you get the twist that his dad is also like a Goku sent to the planet to destroy it, and take it over. He kills their Justice League, which includes another amazing character called the Immortal, who it's later revealed is like Abraham Lincoln because he's been immortal for so long. And it's like he looks like him, so you could be thinking it throughout the whole comic, but then they reveal it. But yeah, he kills like all of the Justice League and attempts to take over the planet, but gets fought off by his son. But no, it's just got an amazing cast of characters, and everyone goes through like massive growth. Like his dad ends up like exiled and then gets a new family in space, and his mother goes to an alien planet and marries like a bug man. And you actually like see all of this play out, and it's not just like a one-off joke. Like they actually go into like the mechanics of like how the different species work and stuff. Like I just love it. Like the proper drill down on some like tiny details.
We thoroughly enjoyed the animation
Amazon?
that
On
they did.
Amazon.
And
Yeah.
on Amazon,
Yeah.
Are they doing a series too?
Yeah, it's just taking a long time because like the work they put in, it's not like
It looks exactly like the
I just
comic.
never heard anything after it finished. I never heard anything to say, there was another one coming. I did buy the what's it called? It's not the omnibus, it's
the compendium.
Compendium, yes. I bought
the phone book version.
It's freaking huge.
It's like a Yellow Pages version. There's like a whole bunch of image series.
I bought them number one.
Walking Dead, Saga, in like their big series.
Yeah, honestly, like that's how I experienced it. It was through like Comixology on the iPad, but the omnibus, like volume 1 and 2, and like just absolutely devoured that thing. And it's amazing when you get into a series that's got like sort of, I don't know how many it had at the time, like maybe 90 issues, and just being able to like properly dig in and read it like every spare moment of the day until like it's done.
And you can't do anything else but this. I love moments like that.
I love the artwork in it as well, because the artwork was very amazing.
Really
Spider-Man. So you thought it was going to be like this nice, happy, child-friendly book.
Yeah, wholesome book.
And it turns out to be the most brutal since The Boys.
Yeah. It doesn't hold back.
Yeah.
It's like the death scenes is something that you've never experienced, and like it's like what would happen if real superheroes did fight each other. Or did it's none of these like, oh, I'll get a bruised cheek. No, you'll get your half. It's like half your head will be removed type thing. And
because there's this awful guy. He like kind of joins up with like Dinosaurus, who's like a scientist in like a T-Rex body, who's still got all of the smarts. And like he ends up working with him because Mark's all like, I think we could make a better difference than me just like fist fighting everyone. And then it turns out Dinosaurus is like, if we like blow up this entire desert, it'll reflect the sun's rays. So he like glasses like Las Vegas or something. And it's like, and then he like crushes his head, and you're just like, oh, why? Like, what's happening? Like, why can't this Mark kid just get a break? He's just trying to do the right thing. He just, everything is like, is bad. But he comes out of it like stronger and stronger every time. And like I say, like you have to deal with the realistic things that happen. Like, people lose limbs, like, and they have to go on and stuff like that. And
it shows you like real life. This is what real life would be.
In the Amazon show, absolutely. In the Amazon show, it's like, from what I can tell, incredibly faithful. They've like updated some stuff, streamlined it. But they have only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, that's what
that one season.
Saying. He said to us, the way he sold it was, he basically said, it's brutal, but we'll watch the first episode and you can make your opinion from there. And I think the end of the first episode is where the whole team is just obliterated.
Yeah,
and I was like, I'm in this.
It's a love letter to like old superhero comics, because like everything's referenced in there in a little way, like even if it's just a jokey, but like not in a make fun of, like
no
like, and not in direct.
It felt homage-y.
Except he did meet the Avengers, I think, in Spider-Man. He made fun of some of those. I don't know how that comic deal worked out. But he was like, Spider-Man's a lame name and stuff like that.
Cool. Very good.
Not the first time he's heard that.
Spider-Man. But yes,
Spider-Man.
so moving on to my fourth pick, then we're on to
Yep.
our last pick. So I'm going to go with this one. This one did knock out John Constantine out of my list because this is like the two I had teetering for the picks. The best way I can describe the comic, and again, it's going to sound really strange, but once you think about it, it is quite close. It is basically like Indiana Jones, but with the occult. So I'm going with Big Red Hellboy.
Hellboy. Yeah.
Oh,
As soon as you said Indiana Jones with the
nice.
occult, I was like, yeah, that's a really good description.
I've always wanted his first appearance in X-Men 21, I believe, and I am still on the lookout because it's too expensive at the moment. I'm hoping for the price to come down one day, or even get a really shit grimy copy, which I'll happily frame. But that is my one comic that I will always keep an eye out for, is the first appearance of Big Red, because I love anything to do with like the occult or anything quite witchy or scary, or like just like anything where it's like kind of like crowded, surrounded by like mystery, and I think that's why John Constantine and Hellblazer always like is a big one. But there is a few Hellblazer comics, and John Constantine is a bit of an iffy character. Let's be honest. He makes questionable choices, but Hellboy, he is just a lovable teenager in the body of, like, say, this demon that's been sent to destroy the world, but all he wants to do is be accepted and love cats.
Oh, he wants to live in it.
I vibe with that.
Yeah, but like the characters he does go around with, like Abe Sapien, like, and like the different incarnations as well. Like the movie version, I know like adaptations very rarely get something spot on, but Del Toro's, especially the second one, is like a love letter to the comics. And I think it was Mike Migalola, was it? I get the name right. Migalola, who originally like made the Hellboy things, but it is basically everything you want in an action movie or action comic. It's got Nazis, it's got zombies, it's got devil worshippers, it's got mad Russians. It's got so much fun. But yeah, like just looks wise, there's like who wouldn't want to walk around with a giant fist to fist people, and not that way.
You're right about the look though. Like it's like,
the look's
it's
cool.
very like silhouette based, isn't it? Like a lot of the time, which is really like striking.
Because you could just see the silhouette of him and you know who you're looking at.
Yeah.
And the old comics as well, it's very film noir. It's very like Dick Tracy gumshoe at times as well, but with certain aspects to it, it's just fun. And I know there's not really like a comic run for them. They normally do like one shots or like special things or crossovers and stuff. But I whenever I see a Hellboy comic, I always love picking it up and just giving it a bit of a read, just because the character is so lovable, and like Big Red, and he shouldn't be, but like he's one of those that, when as soon as you see his face and his poor horns, he just makes you smile. And and again, I just think it's just needs more love. I know they're going to be a new film as well, and I just hope they do it right this time.
I think they might have learnt lessons, and because it didn't get the reaction they were looking for. I used to have a big red hand and it broke. It's the only Hellboy thing that I ever had, and the only other collectible I ever had, and it broke along with Shaun of the Dead. They both went the journey, both fell on the floor at the same time. One halved, the other one just shattered. Gutted.
But yeah, so like if anyone wants to jump in, are you saying it's not a massively long like series? It's more like a series of volumes that you could kind of pick up.
It's normally like, say, one or two issues, or like a 4-issue run. Normally, it's not like an ongoing story. It's just
if you bought one,
like you
wouldn't be totally lost if you picked up a random one.
No, that's why I'd always compare to Indiana Jones as well. It's like each like Indiana Jones story is like a short story of that adventure, and that's what Hellboy is. It's not like an ongoing saga.
Cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Then there's other like mini series that are set within the same universe, just about different characters. Like Abe Sapien has like little miniseries as well. And Koichi the Deathless.
Oh,
Is
there's
it's
not.
the K.
Yeah. I can't remember
The
now.
Russian guy.
Mhm.
Yeah, but yeah,
Not
there's
a-
like different characters existing in the same universe as well that you can just like dabble with.
But it's like, I'm trying to think of the comic's name now, but it's like R.I.P. or something like that.
BDRP.
But
BDRP?
that's the one. Yeah, anything like with them teams are always set in the same type of universe.
Oh, okay.
But it's just different tales. It's like telling old folklores, but with someone in the background trying to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like you're getting the real story of like what this was talking
It's like
about. Yeah.
it's like deep European Slavic folklore. It's not just like
Like the
quaint
Baba Yaga and stuff like
yeah,
that.
it's not just like quaint Beatrix Potter folklore. It's like
You never know.
It's like-
You never know. They
Peter
could go
the
down
Rabbit.
it.
I'd read that, but you know, it is like the really kind of wild old myths kind of thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Like all about pixies and fairies and stuff like that. Like
I need to I'd need to jump in because that sounds right up my street. I've seen the movies obviously, but
Yeah.
comics can be scary because you don't know whether it's
Yes.
like the 1000th issue of something.
Yeah.
and you've totally missed
Incredibly
out.
Honestly,
intimidating.
Yeah.
Honestly, I know this is a segue and not to distract, but don't get too distracted by something being a number one. Just treat it like you're a kid again. Just grab
Yeah.
that issue because it looks good, and then work it out from there. Work back, work forward, work out what you like. But don't get too hot. Nobody should get too het up on like, oh my god, I got to start from number one.
Yeah.
You don't always. You really don't always. Like my first issue, I just bought it because it had Nightcrawler on the cover.
I use Wikipedia a lot, in all
Yeah.
honesty.
Yeah.
Just go to Wikipedia and just look at the
Absolutely.
arc and then
Google.
start from there. That's how I started
Google it.
reading.
Google
Cool.
it and figure out where to go next or what you're missing.
cool. So we're on to our last picks now. So I hope you've left the special
Round
ones or the best ones to last.
Well,
I can still hear. I'll be 2 minutes.
He's going for a
I-
piss.
I'm not gonna lie, I really struggled with this list because there's so many things I could put on. There's so many fantastic series that I've read and enjoyed, like Saga and Die and I Hate Fairyland and my many X-Men characters. And I should have maybe put this in earlier after one of Sammy's entries, but I have to go for my boy, Bucky Barnes.
Oh,
Because
so we've had Cap and Bucky.
yeah, Cap and Bucky.
Yay.
But I think because for so long he was like a kind of like this Robin type character, this little boy sidekick who was like frozen in time, shrouded in kind of like honor, that he died and Cap didn't. And Cap had to carry the weight of that for
survivor's guilt.
so long. And for so long, Bucky was one of the very few characters that did not get resurrected. There was a couple of fake outs. There was a couple of instances where Rick Jones I have an issue where Rick Jones just like randomly went into Cap's closet and found some of Bucky's clothes and just dressed up as Bucky. It's like,
no.
I am Bucky now. It's just like, oh, this is so strange. But Ed Brubaker, much like Sammy said earlier, Ed Brubaker is one of the best modern day comic book writers. He is especially good at writing anything crime or Captain America.
Espionage.
He is like, espionage. He's very good at that. And when he brought back Bucky as the Winter Soldier, that was just like a massive shock. Because that was a total head fuck. And it was so fun when that came out in the films and people didn't know comics yet. They weren't familiar with who these characters were. They didn't know to give a crap about, this dude that was in the first Avenger because nobody liked the first Avenger. Fucking loved it personally, but
Me too.
Fucking love that film. But
Pass.
nobody knew to care about Bucky. Nobody realized that Bucky was coming back unless you were like a diehard like comic fan.
Oh, I didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
In all honesty,
And
I didn't
it
pick up
just-
Winter Soldier until afterwards.
Yeah, like most people did, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. The Winter Soldier film is still one of the best MCU films.
Is the best MCU film.
It
sorry.
is, yeah, sure, yeah. It's my personal favorite, but it's not just like the best film, in terms of a film, it is the best adaptation.
Yeah.
Even though there's some huge elements that are changed, the essence of the story it's telling is still very much there, right down to that moment where Bucky turns, looks at Cap, and Cap's like, Bucky? Who the hell is Bucky? Like, that is from the comic. That is from the comic. And like, it was great that they took that in the comics and they ran with it for so long, with Bucky getting deep. Like, Bucky in the comics, he didn't just get shipped off somewhere. He literally had to deprogram. Like, he was like there. He was like trying to live with his guilt of the countless people. 'Cause in the comics, he was taken by the Soviets rather than Hydra, so to speak. And he was just like a Soviet war machine for so long. And he had to kind of live with the guilt of that. And he becomes Cap in the comics for a while when people think Cap's dead. And he becomes a very kind of different kind of Captain America to Steve Rogers, because I think he knows he can never quite live up to being Cap.
Yeah.
Because Ed Brubaker had made him not so much the little boy that would kind of like, haha, you know, pantomime child after Cap. But he would be like the kind of, he would get his hands dirty so Cap didn't have to, kind of thing. So Cap could be like this kind of pure symbol, and Bucky could do like the dirty work. And so he was always kind of used to being that kind of slightly darker character anyway. But then when he became Captain America, and he didn't know if he would be up to it, because he wasn't Steve. He wasn't this, like, you know, shining knight. So it's very interesting to see him evolve from that to then being like his own kind of superhero. But not, because he's never quite been a good guy.
No, he's never been able to get over the fact, like, even though it wasn't his own fault, he still did these heinous crimes or heinous things.
Even that dates back to like before he was like brainwashed, and he was never quite, he wasn't like the golden child like Steve was. He was always, you know, the bullet in the dark kind of character.
Yeah. But he's still getting, like I say, he's probably getting more credence now because of like the MCU.
Absolutely.
And especially say with the Thunderbolts coming on, and with them apparently leading the Thunderbolts as well. Yeah. So that's going to be an interesting take. But Bucky Barnes,
I hope there's one thing they it's a very, very modern inclusion in the comics, but there's one thing I hope they put in the film, and that is that he is a cat dad.
A cat dad.
Yes, he is a cat dad.
So that's all your favorite characters.
so all the characters that Lauren loves is cat dads. Yes.
Yeah. Apparently, but yeah, he has a little white cat called Alpine.
Cool.
They should put that in.
Yeah,
make room for that.
Cool. So Lee, last pick. I hope it's a good one.
I mean, top pick. It's from the UK. It's been around for about 70, nearly 80 years.
The original Captain Marvel.
Dennis the Menace.
Really?
It was pretty much me idol growing up.
Is that what your hairstyle did as well?
Well,
okay. Stripey t-shirt needs to be bought. He has to wear it at SunnyCon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And little shorts,
Yeah.
He needs a slingshot as well.
I've the what, sorry?
The catapult.
The slingshot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the catapult.
Or was that American Dennis the Menace? Did they both have one?
No, he definitely had one.
They both definitely did. He had a pea shooter, he had a water pistol.
If it was from the Northeast, he would have had a TV gun.
Yeah, the greatest dog as well. Nasha. And then was it Nasha and Nipper? The Nipper came out a few years afterwards.
Yeah. He had a pet pig as well called Russia.
Yes.
This is why you like puns so much, isn't it? It's the damn Beano's fault.
It's the Beano. They're all just recycled Beano jokes that I'm using.
Anybody else a member of the Dennis the Menace and Nasha fan club?
Yes,
I was
the fuzzy badge.
I was part of the Beano. I was part of the Beano fan club. But I was always a fan of the Backstreet Kids more.
Oh, I love Backstreet Kids.
I like
I still get the Dennis the Menace annual and the Backstreet Kids annual for Christmas every year off my mum.
Oh, Lee,
That's
is
amazing.
adorable.
I love that.
Is he like 40-year-old now?
Oh, we're gonna have to make Lee a cow pie as well, aren't we now?
desperate Dan with these cow pies.
Oh, look at Jake's beaming. He's like, "This is the best time ever."
I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, bless.
We
I'm just laughing at you enjoying yourselves.
I did a bit of research on this just before, and Dennis the Menace from the UK has no relation to Dennis the Menace from the United States.
No, they don't. But they weren't allowed to call the movie because they called Dennis the Menace in the States. They brought the movie out, but that had changed the title because they couldn't get the rights for it in the UK because of the Beano.
Mm-hmm.
The weirdest thing is
good on the Beano.
They both came out on the exact same day.
Those Americans
They've got no relation.
That's insane.
I don't know how that's possible.
What was Dennis's nemesis called? Was it Walter?
Walter the Softy.
Walter the Softy, yes. But he used to grass them up every time.
Wow.
The dick.
They've had to ease back on a few things in the recent times because he was pretty much bullying them and using weapons against other kids. But
I mean, he was a menace. Then his name.
Wasn't there a female one as well? What was the female called?
Minnie the Minx.
Oh, there was
Minnie the Minx. Yes, I actually draw Minnie the Minx.
I haven't got a clue.
I loved Minnie
the
Minx. Ivy the Terrible was the little toddler who was just like mental.
No, Dennis the Menace.
If any cartoon character was going to be a Goonie, Dennis would be
Dennis
a member
was never
of the
a Goonie. No, he wouldn't have been. He was too mean. He was too angry.
He was proper. He was so inventive. I don't know how he used to fail school, but he could build working rockets and all sorts.
He was a dick. He was a dick.
And he just went out on adventures with his friends and just.
No, he didn't. He went out to bully people and try and torment the neighborhood.
Not necessarily. It would he would see a sign saying grass, keep off, and be like, "Well, I'm going to stand on the grass."
See, he was a dick.
He couldn't follow rules. So
the Goonies were a pillar of the community.
Don't you dare try and besmirch the name of the Goonies.
No, the adventure side.
Yes. Dennis the Menace. I'm
glad Dennis the Menace.
I bet no one thought that Dennis the Menace from the Beano was going to get named in this.
Not a chance.
No, but I'm very glad he did.
Yes.
That's a proper throwback.
Yes, we're a proper British podcast now. Yeah. Yes. Working class and everything. We've lambasted the Tories with V for Vendetta, and now we're talking about Dennis the Menace. But yes. All we need is Graham to come up and shout Margaret Thatcher's a bitch. But yeah.
It's implied.
If you think it, he will be there.
Yes. Oh, class last week. I'm glad you left it the last there, Lee.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Chris has just pointed something good out. Though Sloth was part of a crime family.
It wasn't by choice. We're not going to go there. It wasn't by choice. He didn't have the mental capacity to make a decision.
It's like on Talladega Nights, like Paul's like, "Don't you put that evil on me." Don't you say Dennis the Menace is a Goonie.
I think I've still got the picture of Lee being a Goonie somewhere. I'll say that one. No, that's
furiously photoshopped.
There we go. There's Sarah and Lee's popped back up again. So that's Lee's looking all Goonie-ish. Yes.
Oh, Sarah.
I've just put that back up just to punish you there. But yes, Dennis the Menace. So Sammy, your last pick.
Well, my last pick kind of got ruined by your last pick because you mentioned his name.
All right. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Spoilers.
It's no. It's when you said he made some questionable choices. I was like, oh shit, should I change my choice right now?
No, just he was a dick. He was a bad.
But I'm not going to.
But
it
you
is
like
John. I'm sorry.
I was going to say you can like characters for being a dick, like I had no more. Well, so
if you hadn't already guessed, it is John Constantine.
Yes.
I fell in love with John Constantine through the TV series.
That's an interesting path.
Yes, I went that way. And I absolutely fell in love with Matt Ryan, who played him. And then I went we have Hellblazer in the house, and I went and delved into that. And I was like, oh my God, they kind of got this so right, but so wrong, but so right at the same time. And then they cancelled it. And then I found out that the whole series was an absolute muddle up. And they had no they had no desire to actually do anything with it. They were just trying to appease people. But yeah, I found John Constantine through the TV series, and I absolutely love him. But I love him from the first few issues of Hellblazer, because that's all I've read. But I love him enough to where I just find him like, I love him in Dark Justice League, because I'm a huge fan of the DC animated movies. So I love him in Dark Justice League, and again the TV series, and I even watched the episodes he was in with them in
the League of Legends of
them people. Yeah. Legends of Tomorrow. I even watched him when he was in then, just because I felt that was a proper representation of John Constantine. From what I'd seen to them, what I'd read, I was like, oh yeah, I get it. I get that choice. But yeah, I just love him. I love everything about him. Obviously the occult part of it, the spooky part of it, the witchy part of it. He's just a fantastic character, and obviously written by the crazy Alan Moore. But I have never seen the Keanu Reeves movie.
Oh, it's not a bad movie. A lot of people give it the shit. It's just they changed the aspects where people were saying, oh, you can't change that. Like, John Constantine could be any character as long as you just give me a mood. It doesn't have to be from Liverpool. He doesn't have to be blonde. It's just, like, say, the attitude. And that's...
Matt Ryan was Welsh.
You should have a cigarette, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should smoke.
Stand firm on that.
Yeah, and I loved it when obviously the whole thing is to do with, all his doubt comes from the incident that happened in Newcastle, and I'm a sucker for hearing, somewhere local to us. I'm like,
cheap pub.
Yes.
But no, I love.
Did he go to the big market? Like,
possibly. But the risks they took with the character as well, making him bisexual as well, was always quite brave for the time, and having that as representation as well, and not being ashamed of it as well. That was always the thing that stood out to me. Like, the reason, again, like I said, and again, I wasn't saying John Constantine's a bad character.
No, I was only joking.
Like, as you said, he is very much a for him, rather than the others. He would always put himself, even in the big showdowns, it's always to make himself better or get himself into a better situation.
I think with the kind of work he does, it's quite easy to go down that selfish route, because you're dealing with things that are, dark and scary, and I would make the choice to save myself. Sorry, guys.
No,
if I had to choose.
He's probably the most human DC character out there, because he makes mistakes. He makes choices that, like, people probably would make in those real situations.
And I think that does make for a more interesting character, to make them fail sometimes, or mess up, or just make the bad selfish choice, because it's more realistic.
Because humans are selfish, as we always. As
for the record, I would make the Goku selfless choice. If it was
I know, but you're nerdy Jesus, so you don't count.
Yeah, and I'm not the best person, so I would totally be saving myself. And if it was a shift of power, I am going where the power is.
Yes.
Okay, good to know.
But yes.
But yeah, that my last choice is John Constantine. I told and froed between him and Daredevil. And I was very much to and fro between the two of them, and I was like, oh, but John's got that gritty, that dirty, that spooky kind of thing to him. Like, that's very much me. But I am a huge fan of Daredevil, and I teeter-tottered with Moon Knight as well. But not read enough of Mark Spector to actually say
the comics.
I really love him.
The comics was very hit and miss. Some of them were great, some of them, but yeah.
But yep, that's my last pick.
Cool, Jake.
Okay, heavy hit of time. And they say that a hero will save us.
And it was
Spider-Man.
Jake.
Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Oh, gee.
Which version?
Which one? After today, Jake, you've got to clarify which one.
I don't know. What are we on Earth? 616, 212? What's the Marvel one?
616.
616.
Yeah, okay. No. Yeah, like classic Spider-Man.
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 But like, in the way that like Paul kind of took you've inspired me to take like a little slice. Like, I absolutely loved the Superior Spider-Man arc.
Oh, interesting.
Oh,
Which, if anyone doesn't know, was the arc where Doc Ock managed to get his consciousness into Peter Parker's brain and take over the brain temporarily. Yeah, and the body and everything that comes with it, and pose as Spider-Man without anybody knowing, apart from Peter, who was sort of trapped as a ghost inside of his own body that he couldn't control.
That's an interesting take, though, because everyone, like, if you, like, normally if you talk, like, say, comic book fans, if you say which version of the comic books do you love, they always go to the Amazing Spider-Man as because I think that's been the staple. But the Superior Spider-Man run was actually not again not gonna say I did enjoy it, but with any of the Spider-Man comics, it's very hard to keep up or follow and stuff like that. But
but I thought it like did right by the history of the character from what I could tell, and it was like it was one of those like massive like your greatest bad guy is gonna do something like really bad and like you're gonna have to deal with the consequences. I mean, it all wrapped up fine in the end, but I just thought it was hilarious how it would be Doc Ock going around meeting like the other heroes and stuff, or like like side characters, and they did treat it seriously, and there was like team up comics, like it would be like him meeting the Avengers, or he like formed his own sort of Sinister Six type of side group as well. Because I think I was reading on like Marvel Unlimited at the time, so I was just sort of like getting them
the
as
days
they
when it
were.
was easy to use Marvel Unlimited.
I was getting them as they were becoming free.
Yes,
I think,
or
I might have bought some of them, but I just thought it was really interesting. Like, I think more heroes should have to deal with like, what if my main bad guy ruined my entire life? Because like we were saying before, like Peter's always been like the sort of fallible hero who's like he's scared to get close to anyone for situations exactly like this, where someone's going to come in and then start hurting all of his loved ones like all at the same time. But yeah, like we talked about like Miles like on a previous podcast today and how important he is, but I think like Peter is equally as important in his own like era, like Paul was saying, the Amazing run or like Spectacular and stuff. He was like, he's almost an everyman. He's obviously got superpowers, but he still has to go to school and he still has to like deal with like his human life. Like he could never just like give it all up, because he's like striving to be like, he wants a normal life really, but he knows he's got obviously the great responsibility.
Great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah. But obviously, like everyone knows, he's like obviously like worldwide known, and there's just you can't deny that there's just something there, whether it's like literally just design is like striking enough to translate over, but I think like he's one of the icons for sure.
I dare say
he's definitely iconic.
And again, this pains me to say it, he is probably the most important and groundbreaking and well-known superhero ever.
Totally agree.
Like if you didn't have Spider-Man, you wouldn't have a lot of different things that we have today.
Absolutely.
No, you're right.
He changed the game from day one, and he's still changing the game now. He is the only thing that is, in my opinion, at the moment, that is watchable in Marvel cinema universe. And he's the only thing that's keeping me with hope where we could go with it.
Yeah,
I can understand that. Yeah, for sure.
I just think he's an important character to a lot of young boys. And it's special to have them type of characters that will not only guide you as a young child, but will see you through your adult years as well. Like you can still take parts of that character and apply it to your adult life. I think he's such a special character. I know we said obviously Miles was, but you don't have Miles without Peter.
Yeah, and there needs to be both. Like they coexist really well. Because they have done in like their own stories and stuff. I think that's the great thing about Spider-Man. Like it's silly, but like all comics are, but you can have like a spider person for everyone. Like
Yeah, definitely.
As we learned today.
All the representation. Yes.
Massively.
It's cool.
Excellent
He's
choice,
definitely
Dave.
got the best villains as well. Sorry, Paul.
No, yeah, like there's an argument to be made. And like I'm like a sucker for like the whole like science experiment gone wrong. And that's like all of his early villains. Like
Yeah.
like it was always just a different animal person of the week where I was like, this guy's fused into a rhino suit or something like that. He can't get out.
He's got very colourful villains as well.
Yeah.
Like Craven and all that.
Rhino,
like leopard
Scorpion.
skin.
I never got Craven. They're doing Craven in the new video game, and I'm like, no.
They're doing a Craven movie.
Yeah.
Are they really?
Yeah, Quicksilver,
Yeah.
the guy who plays Quicksilver's Craven.
Aaron
Right.
Taylor.
Oh,
Aaron Taylor Johnson?
Yeah, I think so.
yes.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a good side character where it's like you need to find someone, you go to Craven, but
I just don't know
I'm-
why they're making another villain movie after making
Venom.
Venom, but then Morbius.
To be fair, though, just they've got the
Morby
platform.
who?
Yeah.
See, just give out Andrew Garfield his third movie now. They can
Yeah.
just I'll be happy if Sony want to go that way,
Yeah.
but
I
After
don't
what-
want
after what
Craven
we
to
got-
stab
after
him
what
in the
we got
gut, though.
I want to see more Andrew Garfield. I want to see what more
Yeah.
he can do
Yeah.
with a good writer behind him, because
Mhm.
what we got in that last movie with the three was superb.
Mhm.
I thought he
But
was
then-
fucking brilliant.
But then you've got to have Marvel involved, and does Sony want to give Marvel any more control?
I just want a decent writer for him.
I don't know,
That
but
was-
us
that's
fans
all.
shouldn't have to worry about that stuff.
No.
But
Ah.
we do.
I think the Andrew Garfield films are the best films out of any Spider-Man. They're amazing.
I'm a sucker
Wow.
for Toby.
That went
But the
very
only
quiet
problem is
afterwards.
Electro. Jamie Foxx's Electro wasn't great, but
Jamie Foxx's Electro in the newest one, I thought was superb.
Because they
Massive-
just changed
massive
him
change around.
completely.
Because they
Yeah,
didn't make
massive
him blue
change.
this time, yeah.
Aye.
Yes.
I mean, they fixed it, but they made it in such a way that they fixed it in a physical way.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he came to this other universe like, oh, the power here is different.
Mhm.
You think,
Yeah.
ooh,
That's been
tasty.
remade.
That was really
Um,
cool.
One like really like one really cool moment that kind of solidified Spider-Man for me as well was like in Avengers versus X-Men. I think there's a moment where he gets like left in a burning building or something to fight Colossus on his own, but this is like Colossus with Phoenix Force inside of him or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's like he holds his own against like someone who should be able to like destroy him, but he kind of does it because his like fighting style is so weird, and the quips, which people might just think is like a silly part of Spider-Man, but it's actually like part of his fighting style to
Yeah.
like put his opponent off guard, and because he doesn't move like anyone else because he's like got spider reflexes
Yeah.
or whatever.
And especially against something like Colossus, who is a himbo. Bless
Yeah.
him, but he is a himbo.
Yeah. But like
he
it was
took on
just a
most
really
of the X-Men anyway, didn't he? In Secret Wars, he takes on
yeah.
pretty
Let's
much
say
all
that-
of the X-Men.
We'll probably see it in the, like, say if they're going to do Black Suit Spider-Man, it's going to happen for the Avengers Secret Wars, so
Aye.
Mhm.
that's going to happen. But yeah, it'll be
Oh
an
no, is he
interesting-
gonna be if it's gonna be like no, because they've retconned everything. I was like, is he gonna be mean to his little friend that he goes to, to college with? I would hate
Well,
that.
they don't know
But
him
no, he's
anymore.
gone now.
They don't know him, so yeah.
They don't know him anymore, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Exactly, yeah.
Peter Parker, who would have forgotten who he was?
Peter, who?
Yes, very good. I'm glad Spider-Man did come up, especially after
Yeah.
today. So, my last pick, again, I'm going to finish it with a monologue. It's a monologue I've done before, but it is the best monologue that's ever been wrote in a comic. So, Dog Carcass Alley this morning, tired tread on bare stomach. This city is afraid of me. I've seen its true face. The streets are extended gutters, and the gutters are full of blood, and when the drains finally scab over, all the vermin will drown. The accumulated filth of all their sex and murder will foam up and about their waists, and all the whores and politicians will look up and shout, "Save us!" And I'll look down and whisper, "No." So Rorschach from The Watcher.
I knew.
Yeah.
And picked it when we were doing our list, when he was doing his list earlier today, he picked Rorschach's name. I said, tell you, that'll be on his list.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
Especially with those comics on the wall behind you there.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he is directly
I see
sitting
it.
behind him, but
Yeah.
I knew this was going to be on your
Yeah.
list. Well done. That was said so perfectly.
No, certainly. And the other, like, his other big line that I always adore as well is like, none of you understand. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. And that just gives me chills when you read that when he's in prison. And for as scummy and horrible that Rorschach is, he is the one that's always right. He is the most pure. He's the one that is uncorruptible and unwavered. And in the Watchmen comic, like, see, you've got the big blue swinging cock of Mr. Manhattan, who is the ultimate. You've got the genius that is the comedian, like the flawed genius, I always say. We've got Night Owl. Like, say, all the different characters in there are flawed, and Rorschach, for his feelings, you cannot say in one scene or one sentence he is wrong. And I just love like everything about him. Like, his mask is mesmerizing as well. And I love the idea of that ever-changing facial expression and how it just how that would work and how scary that would look. It's basically like if Batman just decided to fuck it, I'm going to go rogue and just destroy and just take out everything that's wrong in the world. And I just think he is probably my favorite comic book character that's ever been wrote.
Yeah,
he's interesting because he's like at times in the comic they portray him as like pathetic, to be honest, like, but I don't think like he sees that, if you know what I mean, or he doesn't care like what anyone else. He's very like utilitarian because there's like, I think there's like the part where like he gets like Night Owl takes him in and he just starts eating like beans out of the can. It's like he just wants calories so he can go back out and do his like his hyper focus, whatever he's like doing at the moment.
The other guys do kind of treat him almost like a stray dog.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I bet he's smelly.
Yeah, I mean, probably.
I bet he's lifting.
They see his flaws rather than all of his strengths. They don't see the cunning, like the function. They just see like this guy, you know, here's the kind of beings.
Yeah. But just every element, like even the end bit, and it's how heartbreaking it is in the Watchmen comic, when like all of them are agreeing to say, "Oh, this is what's happened because we don't want the world to go into World War III."
Yeah,
he's unwavering, and he's like, "No, this is the truth. We cannot lie. We cannot break this. Everyone is in the wrong." To the point where Dr. Manhattan has to vaporize him, and you see like that Rorschach imprint in the pure snow and just made out of blood and guts, and it's just like stunning. And then he gets his last laugh at the end, where he sent his diary into the newspaper, and it's like Rorschach's journal, and it's like all the way through the story, Rorschach won.
Yeah.
Because he got it out, didn't he?
It was
regardless of
like,
what they did, he got it out.
Yeah.
It's like what Lauren was saying, like they never saw anything coming because he just seemed like a fuck up, basically. You know, like or he was like the wet work man, like the one they could send to do the horrible stuff so that they could keep control of everything else.
Keep the hands clean as well.
They never saw him as an equal, apart from as like a fighter, I guess. You know, like if physically.
No, but and he's probably the most superhero as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
oh God, massively,
scrappy fighter.
The man with no quit, I say. Yes,
that's true. Such good picks.
Yes,
but it's now 3 hours long.
We got another 5-star runtime.
Yes.
Yeah. And Sarah wasn't even on it.
She's been gloated though. She's like, yeah.
Oh, she has. I think we can't mention it anymore now because we've managed to do it without Sarah being on. So
maybe it's Lauren
we'll
now. Lauren's the
I just babble. I just like talk incessantly. So
we're the problem.
Well, I tell you what, the chat has not wavered throughout our 3 hours, so we've been doing something fucking right. So they may just be here for Lee, but we'll never know.
The King Lee, they love the Lee. So thank you, Lee, for making your first appearance. How did you feel it went?
I mean, I don't know if I'll be invited back after bringing up Sonic, trying to get Dennis into the Goonies, saying that Spider-Man's villains are better than Batman's. It's like I've just been out to get
But
Paul
Lee,
all this, the whole
I'll
podcast.
never hold that against you. So you're okay.
Yeah.
That's okay then.
It's all right. I'll
Thank you.
just Photoshop some stuff next to your face next time. Like,
Oh, great.
have Goodwill fucking your ear or something like that. But yes.
Wow.
It's been amazing.
Never go full Rorschach.
Thanks for having us.
But yes, so tomorrow night is the premiere of the Invisible Man episode, where I kind of shoehorned myself in. Honestly, guys, I cannot say this enough. I think I've been telling everyone, you need to watch this episode.
Yes.
Just for how mental it is. It is something
I
that
can't
I've never experienced before.
It is probably, it's not the best episode of Monsters because they're all amazing, but it is the funniest opening I've struggled to say my openings because I just don't know what to say. I've never physically been able to not speak. And I could not get monsters, and I couldn't say it.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. It
Put
is
this way,
absolutely...
we tried to start recording it and we couldn't record for at least 10 to 15 minutes before
couldn't do it.
we can actually start. Put it that way.
So Monsters is at 7 o'clock tonight. I will be there in the chat. Dan will not be because she never is. But
She doesn't like watching herself, that's why. But
she'll jump in for a few seconds and then say hello. But yeah, she won't be there. I'll be there at 7 o'clock. And we're on a week's break after tomorrow's episode because I am away on holiday, but we come back the following week and we're coming in strong with Chucky and Tiffany.
yes.
So that's going to be fun.
And Goodwill is, I don't know if he's going to be live or recording. He's still sorting that out. But the Star Trek episode will be on Friday. And then we do have a furry episode.
With Mark Cartier.
Mark Cartier.
As well.
Yes. So
Trying to nail down guests.
yes.
That's going to be amazing.
Then we're going to talk about the furry creatures that is Pokemon next Sunday, where Sam is fucked off. So it's going to be me, Jake, Goodwill, Graham, and I think Joe might be on.
The boys get to talk about
furries.
the Pokemon.
Hopefully,
Pocket monsters.
Jake pulls out a few cards and teaches a few lessons. I'll just be talking about Pokemon Red and Blue. So yeah. But thank you so much, Lauren, for joining us as well. The new 3-hour wonder that has taken over the mantle from Sarah.
Yay.
Like as we said before, we will be sorting out a few more episodes going after July. So I think X-Men is going to be one of them ones that's going to be coming up now.
I'll be back.
Yes, and I think Goodwill and Jake will be streaming at some point. I think they're going to have a boys' meeting tomorrow to try and sort out what they're going to be doing.
We're working on some technical stuff in the background.
Yes.
Yeah.
So follow us, like us, subscribe to us. I'll upload all the episodes from this After the Monsters one up on Spotify and iTunes and Amazon, wherever you get the episodes.
Remember to do the 5-star like or review just to help the algorithm, help everyone find, other like-minded people to come and join us.
Yes, and remember, we did do our first review of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse. So it was that one. It's been a long day. This afternoon. So if you want to, again, there's spoilers for that. So if you haven't watched it yet, wait, but watch it and see what you think. See if your views stay the same as us. So I'll let you go because poor Sammy has been falling asleep. So. So same bat time, same bat channel.
Stay nerdy, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Don't forget about monsters. Bye.
Bye.